She bought that.
What's the craziest conspiracy theory you think about? Hello. Hold on.
Oh, look at it. She bought that. Period.
What's the craziest conspiracy theory you think about, but you wouldn't tell nobody?
Conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
You got one tapped in? Craziest conspiracy theory.
I can't.
Pizzagate. They all did that shit. They got the island. Yeah. Bill Gates. Goddamn. The first lady. Goddamn the Trump. Yeah. All of them. They tapped in.
Hey, Mike, what's your worst breakup story?
My worst breakup story? I caught him in bed cheating. I whooped that.
Oh man. That's sad.
Hey.
All right, next question. What's heavier, a pound of pillows or a pound of pennies?
A pound of pennies.
Pound of pennies. This is the last one.
He can't even say it. He's getting down.
I'm not going to answer that question.
Welcome to the New Normal Podcast. I want to tell you guys, we got a great interview in store for you guys. If you are watching, make sure y'all share the video, like the video, and subscribe to the channel. I will be interviewing Paradise Paris. I noticed her probably about 2 years ago. She was going viral, making waves and making the women upset. But it seems like she's really centrist in her views when I checked out her YouTube page. But it seems like women get their panties in a bunch when she takes the side of the men, even though she always telling the women how to stay ahead of men. So I know that's the thing that goes on her channel. I want to tell her, I want to thank her for being here, and I want to thank you guys for being here. I'm going to bring her up right now so she can introduce herself and tell where she's from, how old she is, and notable platforms that she's been on.
Hey y'all, it's me, Paradise Paris. Now, some of the stuff he said, I don't know about all them questions, but no, I'm Paradise Paris. I always tell people I am from Arkansas. I love Pine Bluff. Pine Bluff is home to me, but if you know me, you know where I'm really from. But Pine Bluff, Arkansas is where I'm ripping for the death for me. Pine Bluff is like the first place I really became an adult. And I have a lot of memories there. A lot of great people were bred out of there. Some of my best friends from college came out of Pine Bluff, on top of friends that I had prior when I went to school. But there was a lot of a great jump start for who I am today. So, of course, where I'm from is as well, and I love my tribe, I love my community, but for their safety, we keep a lot of things in the tuck, baby. Y'all don't need to know everything. Y'all don't need to know everything. And this is my last year in my 20s, which I ain't shy about that.
Turned up.
But I'm not quite 30 yet. I'm not one of y'all. Not old yet. My friends,
man.
the last time being young, like not gonna be young no more. We finna start calling you old, and that's perfectly fine. I embrace my age. I embrace everything that comes along with life and the lived experiences. So, yeah, a little bit about me. I don't know. I don't like profiling myself, so I'm gonna kind of tell y'all like I would be doing if I was at a job interview. But yeah, I'm the oldest of 3. My parents, of course, everybody has a good knowledge of my dad, and he just passed here in May. But my parents had been together for 34 years, and it's just 3 of us. It's just the 3 of us. My brothers were actually the first babies born that year because their birthday is January 1st. They were the first babies born in the state of Arkansas, and they are identical twins who my mom did not know that she was having maybe like 3 weeks before she delivered. So yeah, I get to be the head honcho in charge. But even though I have 2 bio brothers, I have a slew of brothers, slew of black being brothers, and I have 2 cousins that I identify with as being my brothers because my parents had a huge part in raising them. And I also have a extended sister, and she's older than me. I love her so much. And I have a extended cousin who is like my sister. We grew up very much so together, and I always say she's my first best friend. So that is just a little bit about me, a little bit of insight, family background. I come from a big family. On my mom's side is mainly women. On my daddy's side is primarily men. So I got a good little balance of what's going on with this person that's so intriguing to the internet.
So you said something that I always say, and I'm gonna get your take on this before I ask you the real question. You
Uh-huh.
was talking about your last year in your 30s, right? I mean your 20s.
Yes.
So, and I always say that us as black people, we have a hard time with the
Getting older.
progression of life, right? So much so that's why we shave off our pubic hairs. What you think about that?
No. I really don't. And
Why you say no?
because I'm a woman and I live in
Mhm.
the South and it's hot.
Oh, okay. So that's a great answer, actually.
But I personally don't think the removal of hair deals with
Hmm.
the infantilization of humans. I don't
Hmm.
think that's what it is. Um, a lot of times women like the gray hair, and a lot of times men like the distinguished look that come along with being bald. They come along with the mustache. Um, Everything else in regards to the pubic hair, though, I mean, I would have to say my personal experience around that is comfortability
Hmm.
as well as skin health. So the same way that other people can find a negative, which I can too. I can find negatives in removing the hair. I can also find positives in keeping in removing the hair. But that I don't think that has to do with anything as far as infantilization. However, I do understand the point where you were going with it, right? And you're
Hmm.
talking about looking at things in a pubescent manner.
Hmm.
And I don't think that you can quite correlate the two because it takes for an individual to actually have an attraction to children before we start placing that thing on adults.
I would agree, and I was just joking. So, my first question to you is why? Why do you choose to talk about the topics that you choose to talk about, knowing that you're gonna face backlash? Why do you feel like discussing the dynamics of, black men and women, and what do you hope to achieve by talking about these subjects?
Why is because I feel like it.
Hmm.
Like
So it's
um
not for a better cause. It's not because you see something like,
well,
somebody should address
no.
this.
I don't think that because in order for me to have to here's the difference, right? Like when I started using my now platform to say things, it was just because I had something to say. It had
Okay.
nothing to do with, oh, somebody's gonna see this and they're gonna go and along and agree with me. It was no, y'all, y'all sound crazy to me.
So who
So
so who was the y'all when you started this? Men,
people,
women?
it wasn't just men and it wasn't just women. It was because
Okay.
here's the thing: you got to realize with social media, this is the age of education. Even if you don't want to receive it, you're getting it.
Hmm.
You're constantly being dragged into these conversations. Your algorithm is being overcompassed with things that may or may not involve you whatsoever.
Yeah.
We were all sucked into January 6th, and I can rest assure you this generation is not a group of people that watch the news. We just don't.
I agree.
Whatever's going on, we don't, so when you have certain conversations that hit the internet, sometimes you're encompassed into them and you may not even care about it, but you hear about it enough, you start to get a little bit more of, an opinion about it.
Hmm.
And that's where I started from. Now, since then, because I noticed you mentioned talking about a cause, I am cautious of the way that I present on my platform now. And that came with my little cousins. I have two little cousins here that are girls in Texas, and I have other little cousins that are extensions of me, and they're older now, and they have found me on the internet, and so I have to be mindful of me being a role model because I realize there's power in me influencing them way greater than their parents. And I'm seeing that as me having a regular relationship with them. Like, they get full parents. Like, they text me, ask me for money. I send the cash. I don't even ask no questions. If their parents know about it, I don't care. I don't argue with me about my kids. But, you know, I go, I spend time with them. I make it a parent to check in with them. Like, they're my little homegirls. But at the same time, amongst them, and amongst me, they're also seeing the social media influencers who got to get the butt lifts. And they seeing the social media influencers who are dealing with scammers, and they're getting all the lavish gifts. And regardless of what's happening in their regular, normal, everyday life, this is what they aspire. They're seeing the girls who are, you know, kicking it tattooed up, and they hanging out with the guys, and they pointing the guns up to their head. They seeing all of that. None of them live that life. These are regular. Some of them are middle class. Some of them are suburban kids, you know, and it's not just the little girls. I have a greater responsibility to represent the women around me. I have a great dynamic of women around me. Very multifaceted. Do we all agree? Absolutely not. But I love my tribe of women that are around me, from my best friends, from the ones from my hometown, to the ones that are from college, to all of the other women I have cultivated relationships with outside of that. The individualism has to be amongst all of us, because some of us don't have the same mentality. But their relationship, their lived experiences, on top of me having my platform, those things have kind of met each other at the door. And so now I realize I do have a greater responsibility, even if I don't want it. I have to be responsible of the things that I interject. I have to be responsible of how I utilize my platform. I have to be responsible for what imagery I am portraying, because even if I am not trying to be a role model, I have influence.
So, do you think more people in our community, the Black community, should take that approach? I'm not trying to be a role model, but I might just so happen to represent the next male or the next woman. Do you think we should all take that
Absolutely.
approach? Why do you think that we have a no judgment idea in our community? Like, you're not supposed to judge what's going on. You're not supposed to judge what I do. You're not supposed to judge what I say. You're not supposed to judge the music I make. You're not supposed to judge how I move my body. You're not supposed to judge anything when it comes to our community. And the reason I'm talking about our community, because I don't know what goes on in other communities, because they don't invite me. I wasn't invited to a cookout or barbecue or anything like that. I am a Black man, and most of my dealings are with Black, people. So that's why I asked this. I stay in Birmingham, Alabama. It's a Black Mecca. So with all of that going on, I just want to know why judging is so bad now.
Because a lot of times the judgment start from the church, and that's where a lot of Black people got an issue with. And anytime you judge them, it's judging them based off of their experiences, where it happened, right, where other people had the influence on them. So this is where I said that, like, I had to realize the correlation. I may not want to be a role model, but one thing that I noticed is people are watching. Do she practice what she preach?
Right.
So that's a mentality that stems from the church when you talk about Black people, because a lot of times Black people are like, I don't like this because it hurt my feelings, because this is why I don't go to church, because
the church hurt.
This is what such said to me, whether it was church or whether it was somebody else that around them, somebody that they possibly admired or had a great impact on who they were today, and they didn't utilize it the appropriate way. And now that is the dead set of trigger for them. Like, that's the constant reminder. You remind me of this person, right? So with you judging me, you sound harsh, you sound critical. And now that they're older, they have autonomy, and they don't have anybody controlling what they say or what they do. They have to be individualized, and they have to operate in this adulthood. They're speaking up, and they're speaking up and attacking the wrong people for it, instead of going back into that environment and reviewing where that person was coming from, or reviewing why they were so mean, why they were so hateful. Because here's the thing, even though we were children, the same way you can give yourself passes and grace, you have to be able to afford that to those people too. There's a reason why the church people acted the way they acted too. When we talk about trauma, things like that, it's so funny how we want to just merge it to one sector as if it just started in this generation of adults. They had it too. You don't know what they had to see. So a lot of times what we're not realizing is a lot of things were done out of grace and a lot of things were done out of protection, and a lot of things were done out of ignorance because of them having to deal with a certain type of a living situation. Now we have a better living situation, right? It's a little bit more easier than theirs. It's a lot more educated than theirs, but we don't actually take a step back and review everything. Because I remember one thing that my aunt, rest her soul, used to tell me: everything for everybody to see. And this is a woman who had a very promiscuous history.
Yeah, that and they used to say growing up, time and a place.
Exactly.
And that's another thing that it seems like it's a struggle for us in our community. Is time and a place. Like for
Because everybody
instance,
want to say respectability politics, but everybody. It's funny how we always say black people are not a monolith until you ready for everybody to march one band, one sound like a drum line.
right.
And so, like, even when I was saying about my aunt, like, she used to always say, like, everything ain't for everybody to see, you know, like, and like I said, this was a very promiscuous woman. First child she had at 13, and she had all boys. Everybody used to always say she's so mean, this, that, and the third. But one thing about her, she always carried herself with grace. You could not look at her and tell what she had been through, and to me, that was power. So her demeanor, the way that she, correlated amongst the other women, or she merged herself amongst me and my cousins, because her granddaughters, it was more so of a way of letting us know, hey, look, I went through this, so you ain't got to go through this. When you get older, I tell you the real. Right now, you don't need to know all that.
I gotta ask you a question. So earlier when we was on the phone, you said black men have been getting beat up really bad.
Who
Was
y'all
that
been y'all ass toe up?
so is that in reference to the brick lady situation?
Yes.
How do you feel about that situation?
I feel a lot of different ways. I'm glad you asked me that question. I haven't quite spoken on it. I feel like, despite what her mentality is, and despite what she may stand for, even if you were not going to render her aid, it's perfectly okay to say that shouldn't have been acceptable. Because I was a person who went and did my research. I went and looked at her platform. I saw everything before people even went and did the research about her platform. I can honestly tell you, I even reached out and extended a word of encouragement to her. I sent her a private message. And everybody knows what my platform is about. But I felt like, to find a way to justify why she should have been assaulted was wrong. Regardless, unless that woman, hold on, wait a minute. Unless that woman, right, actually was attempting to assault that man that she said hit her, unless she was attempting to attack his life, the story that she gave us, if it wasn't good enough for you, it should have just been that. But at the baseline of it, I cannot find a justifiable reason, right, aside from her assaulting him, to say she deserved to be hit in the face with a brick. Everything else is nuance. Everything else aside from it. Could you look at her social media and get a gaze at what her persona could be, her personality is? Absolutely. You can look at her social media and tell exactly how she thinks about life. You can look at her social media and get an idea of how she carries herself and how she operates. But what you did not see was a justifiable reason to go and assault her with a brick.
I'm going to say this, and this is my pushback on that. So I seen today they interviewed another guy that was supposedly out there, right? And he was saying that nobody saw her get hit with a brick. That's number one. So when she made that video saying all these niggas out here and nobody came to my aid, he said she got hit supposedly at the gas station across the street. And in her initial video, you can see, like, when she's panning around, you can see the gas station behind her. So he said when she came over there, We didn't know what was going on. And then for her to get on there and make that live, she's known to be a clout chaser or try to be, a viral sensation or what you want to call it in that neighborhood. Also, the dude said the men were the one that called the ambulance, wait on the police, and make sure she was all right when they got there, when they found out what happened, because what she said was the guy got in a car and left. And so the man that I watched earlier said we didn't even see who actually hit her or the actual altercation, right? So I'm not saying she lying. I'm not saying, because he said she came with a friend. I'm not saying that this not a setup, not that somebody else hit her with a brick, the friend she came with. I don't know. I'm just saying I don't think, and I agree with you, I don't think there's a justification to hit anyone with a brick on the denial of a phone number. I don't think nobody questioned it, right?
And this is where I have the issue, because people, instead of them waiting for more information, instead of people taking the objective stance to say, you know what, I heard her situation. However, I was skeptical of the Megan Tory situation, or we just seen a situation with the NFL player, where two guys came to his house on behalf of the woman.
Mm-hmm.
Before we start making abrupt decisions, let me hear the rest of the story.
Yeah,
I would have respected that more, instead of people going too deep and do heinous things like calling the hospitals. Instead of people going to find
people calling hospitals.
People were doing this, right? Instead of people going to find things on her social media to say, well, she walk around hitting men. Instead of people doing that, right? The most logical thing and the most objective thing for you to do in that situation is saying, I heard her side of the story. A brick is pretty egregious, but I am not in a position to make any type of rational, emotional decision based off of the information I'm providing. That was it. The rest of it, it was dismissive, it was victim shaming, and y'all showed y'all natural black ass. Because I absolutely understand the sentiments of throwing your life away, et cetera, et cetera. I'm with all that. But the nastiness, I blocked so many men that were fake pages, that were real pages on Twitter, because they were commenting on a post that I put up just to give context of the before and after. It showed her in the club, then it showed her outside talking to these people. Now, again, I'm a very introspective individual. I watched the environment. When she showed the video, it appeared that she was pointing to a guy who was standing unbothered in the background. Like nothing was wrong. Guy was in a white shirt. And she's asking all of those other people a couple things I said. Her anger was misplaced. Why are you yelling at them when you can identify the culprit? He right there. They have nothing to do with that situation. Although you want them to go ahead, jump to your aid. Something called the bystander effect. This had research done on it. We know everybody don't engage or interpret. Another thing is, could those people who are bystanders experience a form of PTSD due to the fact that they may or may not be in a high violent crime area? Black people tend to have that. You have black men who have watched people get shot, and by the time they've seen 2 or 3 of them, there ain't too much shock no more. Like, damn, man, that's fucked up. That's their reaction because they'd have seen it, So it's like we don't know if some of those people experience PTSD. Here's the other thing about her reaction: going live instead of using your resources, instead of getting closer to the building where security was, going back where are your friends. It's like her reaction afterwards. Everything was justified as far as her being upset, but her anger was misplaced because if you were able to spot him, if you're saying they watched him, nobody was acting outraged. That's what really got me. Nobody was acting outraged or like too taken aback. So that to me showed me we're lacking context. That showed me there's a possibility him and her were engaged into a conversation. She probably said something that he didn't like. That still does not justify to me a brick at her face. Even if you were to level it out, unless somebody could come to me and tell me she actually assaulted him, she was actually threatening his life, all of this other things afterwards that's being discovered, it's a moot point. It means nothing because at the baseline of it, this woman was hit with a brick. Once you start interchanging and you going to get everything else to justify or to make your feelings or emotions centered around this, at that point, you might as well just say, I don't really care. You might as well just say that, because at the baseline of it, we have to understand she was hit with a brick. It ain't like nobody made that up. She was hit with a brick. She got a concussion. She was bleeding out her ear. You seen it, like you seen her face. So either you're looking at her, or you don't believe that this happened to her. But to go and find other information to attach to that without ever finding the guy who did it and getting his side of the story to say, oh yeah, she tried to run up on me with a knife, or she tried to do, you're doing yourself a disservice. You're just showing you're a shitty person.
I want to say this. I think, and as a male, I think why, for me, when I got on TikTok, and I know TikTok is a woman-centered place, pretty much. Most of the guys that I seen was taking the side of the woman, from what I seen, and it was like, you know, us as men, we need to do better. We don't need to be bystanders. We need to step up for our black women. Now, I do think a lot of it is pandering, because, like I said, TikTok is a woman-led platform for me, from what I see. So I understand that aspect, but the other aspect of it, when I seen men say, this just doesn't sound right, because you don't typically just have men just hit women with a brick for the denial of a phone number. And it's kind of like this rhetoric that I see women like to use a lot. 80% of crimes are committed by men, right? They'll say 80% of crimes are committed by men, or 80% of the crimes are committed by men. And then I say, but are most men committing crimes? And so the reason I say that is y'all try to act like, of course, we know with women, most of your violence is going to happen with a man, but typically in a relationship with a man. But a lot of men out here that violent, and you look like you're in a place of, like you said, these men are not reacting that much. Like it's normal everyday life for something like this to happen, right? So they might just be like, this happens every day. And then another guy said that was there. He said this woman is a nuisance in this community. She's known for her erratic behavior and stuff like that. So when you see all of these men just standing by, and it seems to me like she might know a good number of these men for her to feel comfortable go live and say, all you niggas just standing by and not doing nothing. I think it's kind of warranted for them not to help. I agree. Nobody should be hit with a brick. But also, I'm going to say this. I grew up and they was telling us, you cannot dictate what a person does when you engage with them. Like, it would be crazy for, I think, most people to just believe, no sir, I got a man, I don't want your number, I'm not interested. I don't think nobody's just thinking that was the interaction for her to get hit with a brick. Do you think that will happen? Like, I'm cool, you know.
Here's the thing, it wasn't about men being provoked or anything like that. And I think even the violence, that's a nuanced conversation. I don't even think that is I don't think that that's attachable to this entire thing, because to me it just seems like women want traditionalism conditionally. It seems like women want the patriarchy when it benefits them. They like the double standard when it's on their benefit. We know that men are stronger than women. We know that men are inherently aggressive. We know that men are, you know, that you guys have a quote unquote a need for speed. You know, you just do stuff. And if anybody's been around little boys, if anybody has seen the way little boys act, like they're very rambunctious, like they're extremely curious, they just do stuff, right? I remember one day we were at home, and my brothers were maybe 6 or 7, and one of them just started climbing the wall. Nobody's walking around climbing the damn wall. Like, ain't nobody told him this. Like, my dad was flipping us, like he was taking us by our feet and flipping us on the bed. But he literally started climbing the wall. And the other twin, curiosity Pete, he gets up, he starts doing the same thing. Boys just do stuff, right? You don't typically see that with girls. And when you do see a girl acting extremely athletic, or you see her acting extremely rough, you know that she's not like your regular dainty girl. Most girls don't behave in a very abrasive manner like boys. So I don't get the correlation of trying to say most violence is committed by men. It means absolutely nothing to me. In regards to this particular situation, again, it's the justification. It's trying to find a way to be dismissive of the actual incident. based off of what you've seen about her, based off of those type of things. It's either do you think she should have been hit with a brick or do you not? And even with her being a nuance in the community, seems to have been frequently that area very often. She seems to be very familiar with that area. I saw all of that. That's not the point. Like I can't stress that enough. The point is this happened. The point is women have said, hey, I have been attacked because men rejected me. I reject men. I also do not like the fact that other women chose to come up and say, hey, this happened to me in her particular predicament. Same scenario. I attempted to, go out. I was enjoying myself. A man approached me. I said, no, I got assaulted. I do not like that because it doesn't actually do anything for the person that we're talking about. Now you're trying to attach it to a woe is me type situation. However, in this particular situation, that should have been the narrative that was pushed around. Not that individual and who she is as a person. Because if we would have stuck to the topic of, hey guys, women are telling you there are men out here who are getting rejected by them and they're hitting them. We now are escalated from a regular slap or a regular drink to a brick. We're now at the point where there are women who have lost their lives, or a woman was bit in her eye when she had her child with her. This is a real story that was on the actual news. A woman in a gas station late at night had her child with her. She was out, her minor child, and guy asked her for her number. She said no, she's just trying to get to her car, running from him. Well, not running, but walking, in the opposite direction. Him and two other guys attacked her. They attempted to, basically unalive her because she said no. Now, did we mix context? Possibly, right? Because again, we go, well, what makes people react that way? However, at the baseline of it, still a victim, right? So that's what we should be focusing on. A man assaulted a woman, and the assault reason was because this is what she said. If you want to go talk to the unhinged person who did the assault, be my guest. Get all of the information that you need. But at the end of the day, the assault occurred. So where's the hesitancy? Why are you guys trying to be dismissive about the actual assault? Don't care if you were standing around and you would have went and helped her or not. But at the baseline of this, the woman was assaulted by a man for reasons being she did not want him. Address that. That's where we need to start.
Okay, so this is why I think when you talk about the dismissive part of her being assaulted, do you believe this saying, they had it coming? Do you ever believe a person had it coming because of their actions, the way they move? And the reason I say that, because you have these men close by her, and we all see the demeanor of the men as if, and like the guy said, it's like, she's a nuisance in here. Like, and the dude said, I don't agree with her getting hit with a brick, but it's only so much that so many people are going to take with you around here acting like that. Same thing with the bully. Sometimes people get bullied by people, and one day they stand up and then they take a chair and say, you know what, I'm done with the bully because the bully's been fucking with me for so long. Now I got to hit you with a chair because I got to prove a point, because now in front of all these other people, you've been making me feel little. You've been making me feel less than, and you keep picking and prodding, and you just had it coming. And from what I've seen, and like I said, I don't agree. I'm just going to say with this, I don't agree with her getting hit with a brick, but I also understand that some people just have some things coming their way, and the demeanor of the men and them talking out about it showed that she just had it coming, and that's all I got to say on it.
Well, no, I wouldn't say that she had it coming. I would say that she's spoken into existence based off of how how her mentality is. I would say that she's spoken into existence. I would also pose the question of, well, why is his version of the story of her character more credible than her version of the story at all? Her version of the incident. The version of her character seems to be what, again, people are trying to justify the assault. And the more that you guys are speaking about this, you're taking away from the actual issue.
No,
The actual issue is he was in. Like I can understand the rest of this. Like, hey, you
so
got
then my question will be to you: character doesn't dictate how we get in certain situations in our lives.
it's not
Choices.
about the character or choices that get. Listen, that's not the point here. That's
Mhm.
not the point, right? Because we keep focusing on the individual to try to justify brick face. That's what it is. Like if the baseline of this, once you keep talking, that's what it's getting to. Like you basically in so many words trying to say, fuck her face. Like she took the brick, good thing she didn't die. That's what I'm hearing. And I know that's not what you mean,
Mhm.
right? But the more that the conversation goes on, that's almost like saying, hey, this guy who be making noise in our neighborhood, police shot. This guy, every day he wake up, he make noise. I don't like the fact that he make noise, but I also don't want him to get shot for no reason. You get where I'm coming from? That's exactly what it sounds like. Most times, often than not, women who are attention seekers, this, that, and the third, they typically get ignored unless they are provoking someone. So again, I would say people are so quick to discredit her story. Well, all you had to say was, I just need more information. And then to try and find somebody else who's spoken out about the story, and you're telling me you believe what he say. He comes from bumfuck nowhere. We got no background information on this guy. How you know he wasn't the guy who hit her? You don't know.
We don't know.
Because he said something that you feel like you resonate with based off of people going to do their research on her platform to verify her personality. You're
No,
like,
that's not why.
not you. I'm just
Okay.
saying this is the way the conversation is going.
Yeah.
I've been involved in this conversation. The way the conversation is going is the moment that we get somebody who can speak out and tell us they were at the scene and tell us the side of the story that they saw and they witnessed, we're going with that one. And it's
Well,
like
both of these guys, that's what I'm saying. Both of the guys that I seen said they were there. So that's why.
I think two of them too. But
Yeah,
at the end of the day, we have nothing to prove that they were even there. Because most times when scenarios and stuff happen, people are taking their phone out. How many times have you seen where black men are involved in an altercation where there's a white woman? She's sitting here playing her Karen semantics, and he also picking up his phone, calling, recording. How many times have you seen that?
Not
It
really.
happens all the time. Let's not act like it don't.
No. I'm saying when you ask me, I don't see it much. And when you talk about a camera, and this is my other thing with this situation. If we're talking about an after effect of getting hit with a brick, if you can pull out your phone and you mad at these niggas not protecting you, instead of recording the nigga that just hit you with a brick walking to the car like you said happened, so you could show the people, hey, this nigga hit me, him right here, he hit me.
I completely understand that. That's not my point.
Yeah.
I acknowledge her anger was misplaced. She did not use her resources. She was out there isolated because where the hell was her friend? She had a friend before that situation even happened. What I'm saying is people are looking to say, I don't believe her story because random man who said he was out there, I have no proof of him being out there. I can't identify nobody in that video. All I do is hear people in the background saying, what you want us to do? Random man driving a car, random man with the phone up to his face said, I was there, this how she at. And now y'all believe it. But how do you know this random man is also not a person who was clout chasing her story with tweets behind a cartoon Abby? How do you know this random man, either one of them, were not one of the individuals that assaulted her? How do we know? We have no idea. But because people are looking to discredit what could have happened to her based off of trying to justify how it got there. Could I absolutely say, hey, maybe she did do something. I can acknowledge that. We are lacking context from the story. I'm the first person to say, we missing some information. But the information that you need, you have not gotten, which is she provoked him and she assaulted him first. We do not have that information. So until you can get that information, the rest of it, moot point.
Okay. Well, let's move on because I think we both agree nobody should be hit with a brick.
Nobody should be hit with a brick. But the rest of it is just we haven't discussed the baseline of it. Baseline of the conversation is women get assaulted for rejecting men. And until we can address that, we're going to continuously see situations like this happening where black men are trying to wager
But
their life.
is that a big thing? Like it is a big number of women actually getting assaulted for rejection. And the reason that I asked that
I
is,
don't think it is.
okay, because I was about
But
to say if
the thing is, it happens. So
okay, so
the
we
random
hold on.
assaults, they're like 10% of majority of isolated events. Like anytime you get attacked or assaulted by somebody, 90% is people who know you.
Yeah.
90% is people who know you. So I think the issue is because of the fact that we know these things to happen, but because we don't take them serious because they're not in our purview. We're dismissive of it. And so people are already prepared to know how they're going to react in the event of a 10% crime. And that's why I have the issue with it. Because me and you are acknowledging like it's not a commonality, but there are so many men who are saying, well, in the event it does happen around me, this time behaving. So it needs to be addressed because so many men already know how they're going to react.
Well, let me ask, huh?
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That's why I'm saying that.
So I'm gonna ask you this: when it comes to black men for not protecting black women, is that a true narrative or a false narrative?
No, it's a very false narrative.
Why do you think that?
Because majority by and large, anytime something's happening, it's men coming to protect women. It's not women going to save and protect other women. Women don't even save and protect children most times.
I agree with you.
So, I mean, by and large, yes, men commit the most crimes, but yes, men also do the most protection. I think it's a stupid argument. And
see, that was my argument. That was my argument bringing up the 80% of men, the crimes committed are committed by men because women like
saviorship is coming from men as well.
Huh?
Majority of the saviorship is also coming from men.
Right. You know,
so
which
you can't
is police.
Like, right. I mean, yes, they make the problem. They also fix the problem. So I don't really know what you want us to do with that information. It's not a lot of women, by and large, going out being superheroes. And Wonder Woman and Catwoman was just a couple characters. Storm was just a couple characters. By and large, majority of Marvel and DC, even Harley Quinn. I say that's my alter ego. Harley Quinn was just one woman.
Harley Quinn.
But overall, I don't think that this particular issue should be dismissed. I don't think that this particular issue should be dismissed because of the fact of how men are responding to it. So now it's calling into question for black women who feel like that they are not protected. What do they do? And my answer is, well, the men have gave you the answer. Why don't you accept it and just protect yourself? Like, that's my response, because I do my due diligence. But you can't get all women on that same page. You also have a lot of men who are in the adverse of the men who are saying, I'm not going to do anything. You have a lot of men who are not on the same page. It brought up a very good conversation. It's a conversation that very much so needs to be had.
I 100% agree. I am a person, and I come from this line of thinking. Most people ain't just out here just getting randomly attacked. That's just
and most people are not out here committing violence.
Right. And so when I see something, an altercation between, if it's a man and man, woman and woman, or woman and man, I'm going to assume one, these people know each other, they got prior history or something like that. And
that's typically what normal people do.
Right. And I'm not jumping in a beef because they recently had a guy this year die with his wife and his newborn in Walmart because he jumped in to protect another woman that was getting beat up and the man killed him. And so if me having 2 children and a wife, I would not ever jump in and save anybody that was getting beat up. I would call the police.
Children and the wife out, right? Just a regular man. Why we need to really address the elephant in the room. Why do we feel like a black woman's life is more valuable than a black man's? When black men are, this is another reason why, it's not to me, even as a black woman, the top of the paradigm. Black men have a higher death rate. And then another thing is, even with the femicide rate, it's not even top 5 of Black women's death issues. Like, it's not. Black men have the highest suicide rate. Black men have the highest rate of death due to gun violence. And they're hand in hand. They're literally top 5, aside from old age. Old age is somewhere on the list, and health issues. For Black women, it's a slew of health issues that we start at, and that disintegrates down before we even get to domestic violence, before we even get to random gun violence or attacks, or it's not that for us. This is one of the reasons why I push back on it. It will always be violence and like car accidents for younger people, right? But including Black women, and Black people in general experience violence at a higher rate. But the elephant in the room that needs to be addressed is why have we got to the point where Black women can say Black women don't owe you shit. I don't need you. I don't have to smile for you. You're not my man. I'm not attracted to you. I don't have to respect you. I can talk to you any type of way. I don't have to say thank you. Fuck you. You're broke. You're dusty. You're XYZ. We can constantly tear you down. And in the same breath say our lives are more valuable for preservation than yours. But we begging you to take your life for us. It makes no sense. Like, I don't want Black women feeling like your life is more valuable than a Black man's. And the only thing that they're going to get with that is a thankless thank you while their family is filled with the continuing grief. No, it don't stop there.
Like I said, it's kind of like this. You know how you have people that, and I don't know if you're religious or not, but it puts me in the mind of this. When people say they don't believe in God, and don't believe in God until they're on their deathbed, and now they're calling on God. I feel like Black women are the same way. Like that Black woman that was hit with the brick, same issue. She was saying she didn't need man, lesbian, this, protecting feminism and with the woo. And all of a sudden that she gets hit with the brick, now she wants all the men to come to save her. Like, you can't, y'all talking out both sides of y'all neck. Women, you don't need a man. Women, y'all independent. I've never seen a group of people who are independent and so dependent at the same time. Right. It just doesn't work.
Fight against co-interdependence. They fight against interdependence based off of control and codependency. And I absolutely agree. I've never looked at it that way, but you're absolutely right. Like, people be saying they don't believe, and then they have to find a way to just acknowledge the faith. They have to find a way to say, well, now I gotta believe because this has happened to me. I don't appreciate the outcry of disrespect towards Black men that Black women have. Right. And I think it's gotten so bad to the point where now certain men feel like even if a woman asserts herself in conversation, regardless if I respected you the whole time, regardless if my tone has been even the whole time, but the moment that I push back and I disagree with you and I assert myself in conversation, they are also taking that and it's misguided as disrespect. And that's where we're at. It's getting conflated, right? Because I should be able to voice how I feel, and I should be able to, let you know, hey, this doesn't work for me. I don't enjoy this don't resonate with me. But even some things like that, right? Like the moment that you get a motherfucking line, Black men are now saying, oh, that's aggressive. She not fit. No, that's not what that is. I still respect you. I still honor you. I just had to let you know when you had me fucked up.
Yeah.
Because individual to individual, if you calling it how you calling it, that's what we are now. We're individuals. And sadly, I get the brunt of that, even though I still am nice to Black men. I swear today, it was nothing but Black men that helped me. I briefly talked to you on the phone, including you. You were one of the Black men that helped me. So thank you. You helped make my day better. You helped cultivate a part of my community for my experience that I was having. I was in the car with the Black man and saw an older Black man who was standing on the corner helping children get out of school. And I spoke out to him, had asked him how he was doing. We had a brief conversation. It was really nice. And we don't get that anymore. Like, just the simple opening the door is the entitlement. There are too many Black women who feel entitled to a certain level of extension of Black men with nothing in return. What is it? What is in it for him? If everything is going to be what they call transactional anyways, right? The moment we
Mhm.
talk about sex, they saying it's transactional. Why y'all don't take the same courtesy when it comes to just simple gratification or servitude?
Mm. I don't know why they don't.
We need to address that. That
Yeah.
needs to definitely be something that is talked about more. A good counterpart of mine, a good mutual of mine, had tweeted and asked if black men are supposed to give their life, what do we get in return? My response was servitude. My response was
But
general respect to all men. I
but
remember
that'll never happen though. Like we'll never like
know,
we'll never
I
get
know,
that.
but
And then like if
that's the
let's say I'm randomly giving my life to a woman that's getting beat up and I die. It's no way that she can actually repay me for me dying, right? And then we know people
unless it's her life,
what you mean?
a life for a life. Because I feel like that's an equal playing field, right? Like the same way she has people that she's near and dear and love her so much, you
Mhm.
also have the same, regardless if you have children or wife or not. It's a life for a life. But in these situations, what we're not seeing is the hero actually being championed as the hero and put on a plateau by the person that they saved. What we're seeing is the person that they saved going on with their life, acting like nothing ever happened. You know, maybe that experience gave them a little trauma, a little PTSD. Maybe they learned a lesson from it. But what we're not seeing is you going to sit with that person's mother, sister, wife, aunties. You going to be a part of them kids' lives. You help with school clothes. You going to help become basically another extension of the family that he would have been. We don't
Yeah.
see that, right? We don't see people going to help pass. We don't even see them with the GoFundMe. We don't see them do anything that is more so based off of the person that helped them. And to me, I kind of correlated with step parenting in a lot of ways. I think it's a little bit more extreme than step parenting, but I think that that's the best correlation, right? Because
Mhm.
at the base of it, if the parent who is absent, this man or woman, if the parent who is absent decides to come back and right their wrong, and then the children ended up, the child have a copacetic relationship, a lot of times the step parent is getting the secondary admiration. Even if they'd
Yeah.
been the one there to help the in-house parent pay the bills, even if they'd have been the one there supporting, they've been in the crowd, this, that, and the third. Yes, you love your step parent. You don't love them the way you love your parent. You can never replace
I
them.
agree.
You can never replace a parent. So I feel like that is a good correlation. I don't think it's the same thing, but I think it's under the same umbrella. And what we don't see is a lot of times in these situations where the women are trying to pick up the pieces to reach out to the family, to give their condolences to the family.
I agree. I agree. So is the black community, is it a patriarchy or a matriarchy?
Matriarchy for sure.
Why do you say that?
I mean, it's run by women.
So,
That's
okay, so when we know that it's ran by women and we know all the stats and statistics and metrics about boys being raised by a single mother household, why do the government still incentivize women to keep their kids more than men?
Can you repeat the question for me so that I know that I'm following you?
Okay, so you said it's a matriarchy, woman led, right?
Yeah,
Well, we know for the last 50, 60 years, women pretty much have been raising children by themselves
yeah,
a lot, and now I don't know if that means they're by themselves, but we had a 77% rate of children born out of wedlock, right? And
well,
so
out of wedlock doesn't necessarily mean that the
your dad
child
is not there.
has
Right,
exactly
correct.
right.
But we know that there, and I know a lot of people, you might know a lot of people who are women who are raising children by themselves and have multiple children that they're raising by themselves, right?
Correct,
And
correct.
so since I know that it's a vast number, even if it, let's say 77 are born out of wedlock, I still not a high number of people who are actually together still raising these children, right?
Correct.
So and what I'm saying is, if we know what happens like prison rates. You're more likely to go to prison if your father's not home. You've been committing crimes and sexual assault and homelessness and psychiatric medications and being a runaway. Like all of these metrics and statistics that we have out. Why does it seem like the government still, like when you go to child support court and stuff like that, these men are fighting for their children? Hey, let my child come stay with me. If I gotta pay her money, well, you should just let the child come stay with me and she ain't got to pay me nothing. But they
Because
still go ahead.
no, I think I volleyed the question out, and that's because everything that happened was a direct correlation of what white women had.
Mhm.
That's why women are still getting incentivized. Has nothing to do with black women, and I think we need to start looking at it from that perspective. All of
So
what we're experiencing literally was not made for black women. We just reap the benefit from it,
mhm,
as in quote unquote the patriarchy, as
mhm.
in quote unquote feminism, et cetera, et cetera. So anytime all of these metrics are put into place, this is why I say black women don't weaponize marriage the way that we should. Because a lot of times black women are just getting a child support check. You're not getting alimony, you're not getting spousal support, you're not getting good health care, you're not getting any of these other incentives. You
I
put your
agree.
child, it's your ass, right?
Yeah,
But you only attach yourself to him via a surname. You didn't
yeah.
attach yourself to him actually via his reputation.
Mhm.
It's your child, and y'all are looked at as separate entities. You can literally make a baby with a man, have nothing else going on with him. Literally, just make the baby.
Yeah.
But what you see is, especially when you see in these housewives, basketball wives, all of these dynamics, right? Even
Mhm.
down to the mistresses. It's a reason as to why they say it don't mean that she the wife.
Yeah.
It's a reason why, right? Because if the wife
She's
decides
not getting a lot of perks.
to leave, whatever the hell you got going on, that's just that. Good luck, Charlie.
Yeah.
But you're not getting the house. You're not getting any of the additional incentives that come along with it. He's
Mhm.
obligated to her. He's literally obligated legally to her. So the black community is absolutely a matriarchy, despite its rearing its ugly head. And we're here today.
Mhm.
But it happened this way where women are getting incentivized because of white women. The reason why we addressed domestic violence had nothing to do with black women. It was because of white women. They were the ones who were getting abused. They were the ones where it had to be a call to action for them. The reason why divorce is a thing is because of white women. The reason why we can go and we can get maternity leave had nothing to do with black women. It was all due to white women. Even though
So
black women carry the highest risk of cancer, the reason as to why we started getting more research behind it was because of white women.
so do you think, knowing all of that, what you said, and I agree, do you think that black women want to be like white women sometimes?
Yeah, but not all of us.
Do
I
you
think that
think,
there
well,
is
if 1 to 10, what percentage would you say, or
three
1 to 100? You think 3% of black women want to be like white women?
for sure.
I say 5. I say 50-50, but
No, it's not that much, bro. And I'm gonna tell you why, because this is the point where we go, you gotta put down the internet.
Mhm.
When you go outside, the mass of black women are still intertwined around other black people. The mass of black women have a great understanding of you know, racism, and have a great understanding of what ills white women cause, right? But
Mhm.
the mass of black women are interacting with white women, and their experiences are their own, where they are being gaslighted, where they are seeing the favoritism, where they are the ones putting in more work, and they're getting dismissed and things like that, or getting picked on. This is where you put down the internet. But we have always had coons, and we have always had black people who have had self-hatred. We have always had black people who do not live in the reality that we are living in. Somewhere, somehow along the line, they'd have tricked themselves to thinking they not white, they not us. You feel me?
Mhm.
So make no mistake, regardless of what you see on the internet, maybe 4, right? Because we talk about influence, but it ain't half. And even 4 is too much.
The reason that I say that is just from my interactions with black women, the conversations that I have with black women. And, you know, I've been doing this about a year, and the things that they say is like, why are you like, for instance, they use their black women use the dating metrics of white women as if white women has let them into the inner workings of how white people date. But they will say this: white women don't have to worry about paying all of the bills and whoop the whoop, and white men, you know, do this and do that. I'm like, how do y'all know what's going on in a
That's
white
violent.
household? Huh?
Black women are not using white women's dating metrics. Black women are using a fallacy. There
Well,
is
if
no dynamic up, but this is the thing. This is why I say you can't even measure it to white women. Like, do they want to be white women? No. And I would say the reasons why I would say we don't want to be white women in mass or even half is based off of the other things that correlate to whiteness, right? The egregious things, the heinous things. It's not common for black women to see their children and pacify everything that they kids do. That's what white women do. It's not common for black women to intentionally breed aggressive and violent children. That's not the intentions of black women. Our as black women, we don't intentionally, go and make disrespectful and disdain family names for ourselves. A lot of black women care about their image. They care about how you see them, even though a lot of them showing their ass on the internet.
I was about to say that image. I don't know.
The internet, just put the internet down. Listen to
Hold on.
When you go outside, the reality is a lot of black women are portraying to be one way, and you're not seeing their true self.
I want to say this. If I can stroll down, let's say, and this is the internet, but let's say if there is enough people or enough women to keep Instagram going, and I see nothing but ass, and then I get on Facebook and I see a girl I know showing her ass, and the girl I know I went to school with showing her ass, and the girl I went to elementary school showing her. If I can see these people when I go to Instagram and I see the Instagram models, and I come to Facebook and then I see the women that I know myself, went to school with, went to church with, mingle with these people, and they're putting their bodies on the internet like this, and they're saying, "Hey,
white women."
But you was talking about the image. Hold on, you was talking about the image though. You was like, most black women care about their image, and that was giving you pushback.
And you talking about the internet, and the first thing that I said was put the internet down. When you think about how you engage with black women in public, most of us, not me specifically, most black women are lying about who they are. They run to you with their representative. So even though
I agree with that,
you're curating your algorithm. The internet is a figment of your imagination. I can make anything look like anything. Is it a reality? Yes. But you made a very deep, thorough statement. I cannot resonate with this statement. I do not stand behind this statement. You said black women want to be white women. The answer to that is no. Black women are living in a fallacy of the lifestyle that they think white women have. But when you look at the behavior of white women versus the behavior of black women are asking for acceptance to be able to do the bad behaviors by black men for white women that they think that white women do. They don't realize white women covet themselves. They don't realize that a lot of times the same thing that is happening with us when we go outside and we showing you our representative, they're also showing those men their representative. A lot of white women sleep with and have affairs for years. They were whores in college. You used to see girls going wild. The same way you see ass all up and down your timeline now. Make no mistake. You see it because you're curating your algorithm for black women. That is what you're interested in. But there are white women who are doing exactly the same thing. You just don't see them on your algorithm.
Okay. So
same conversation.
Let's keep this same conversation, right? So you said white women were doing something. So basically, white women will hold out, right? That's what you said. They was in college, they were whores, and they want to be able to do the same things that white women do.
Behaviors, correct?
Okay, I agree 100%. Let's stay
womanhood though.
Hold on.
It has nothing to do with relationships.
Hold on. Let's stay right there. What you said. white women have done bad behavior, and black women want to be able to do the bad behavior as well. If you look at somebody and you're saying, well, a white woman over here can do X, Y, and Z, then why can I do X, Y, and Z? Because I always say this. I say this is as black people. I say how as us as black people typically was the moral compass of America. They used to siphon stuff through us to see if we would go for it. And if we didn't go for it, then they knew, nah, this ain't gonna make a play. So, for instance, abortion. Niggas weren't going for abortion, but what they did was, if you look at the history of it, they started infiltrating, getting black pastors to talk about it because we were so entrenched in church and religion. So when people got so comfortable to do that and talk about that in church, then it became a thing where it's like, okay, we can do it because black people were the moral compass. But when it got to the point where it seemed like white women were having more fun, can do what they want to do, and the things like you said, they were whores and still get married. Black women thought they could do the same thing, mimicking the same stuff that white women are doing.
They
Or
thought
have
that they could do that off of the contingency of them integrate. This is why integrating into a society that is dominated by white people, to where in listen to what I'm saying, right? A lot of black women have this fallacy that black men are getting away with a lot of random bullshit that white men get away with. This is what the fallacy is. A lot of black women think, oh, black men benefit off patriarchy. They're men. They can do whatever they want to do. Nobody says anything. This is a fallacy, but this is how a lot of black women think. So in their head, they're like, hey, if he can get away with this because he's a black man, why am I being held to a same standard as like I'm supposed to be a nun, but white women can do the same thing, and they're also just women. In a lot of black women's head, they think that they are equals to white women. Does not mean that they want to be white women. It just means that they think that they're equal to them. They think that, oh, okay, if she is able to do this and y'all don't say nothing to her about it, why are you trying to hold me to a moral standard or more high regard? But
so
actually wanting to be white women.
So if you're doing something that white people are doing, would that make black women like culture vultures, kind of?
Nah, because
why
white
not?
women don't create anything. In order to steal culture, that means that this person has to have created something that is a traditionalized makeup for them.
Okay,
but
so hold on. So let's go with this.
Black people have already done.
Hold on, let's go with this. When it comes culturally, we all agree culturally when it comes to sex that black people and white people view sex totally different. Is that not a fact? Culturally.
Elaborate.
So
here's the thing, wait, because I know you're from Alabama, and I have a, and I'm trying not to, be biased. I grew up in Arkansas. I grew up around a lot of white people. I was the only black girl who was not only in my Girl Scout unit, aside from a church friend of mine, and I was the only black girl on my softball team. So I had a lot of experience around white people and white families. I was actually the only black person at one point in time, my second year, when I was a lifeguard. My first year, I was the only black woman, but I was the only black girl in the entire camp that we went for lifeguarding, and that was at 19 years old. So I got a lot of experience around white people.
Okay, I do too.
I live in Texas now. So I went from country to city. I live in Dallas now. So when you say this, just know I'm not only coming from a place of an opinion, but I'm coming from a place of experience, right?
Oh, okay. So what I'm about to tell you is I grew up, and it's some people in the comments that's talking that, and I grew up in Birmingham, Alabama, right? I graduated high school from St. Clair County High School. Predominantly white school, right? So I have an experience in both. Like I grew up in Birmingham, and then like you said, went to the country. So when I got to see how white women move sexually and black women move sexually, growing up in my time, it was totally different. I still remember listening to old men say this. They would say, I got to go across the track to mess with Becky because my wife at home ain't finna do what Becky finna do, right?
She ain't
So
gonna put him out.
right. So you understand what I'm saying. So when you have this idea and this understanding, when black women got to the point, I remember black women saying this: we're losing our men to white women because they suck dick and we don't. So now all of a sudden, when I get on my timeline and my Twitter, and I agree, my timeline is curated for black women because I love black women, but it still should not be where you see another person doing something and you feel like they're doing something better. It should be, us as black women, we need to whole frame. We need to still be nice and courteous and clean and pure as we can. We shouldn't be out here every 5 minutes talking about how your wop and how good your pussy is and how much dingaling you suck. And the thing about it is, it shows with all the baby mamaism that we have in our community, how many women, like, do you know that black women have the women with the most fathers, like most baby daddies? Like, that's a real statistic. Like, no other race of women have multiple baby daddies like black women. Like, our community being white and acting like we want to be like white folks and seeing that culture messed us up. Even, I say this, even black men, how we view sex, because when you hear stories about black men going to mess with white women, it taints your mind and has you like, dang, I should go mess with a white girl too. And then you go mess with a white girl. And now you can bring that back and be like, Becky did this. And now you're trying to teach your black woman to do something that she wasn't normally okay with doing. And so that's got all of us messed up. And sex is a big part of our relationship dynamic. And that's why you got the women talking about the big Peter whackers now, and the niggas talking about the good cootie pop. Like, black women wanted to, and I say a culture voters of white women when it comes to sexuality, because we all can agree sexually, white women and black women are just two totally different when it came to sex.
And the reason why I have to push back on that and say we're not is because of the fact of you overlook where the influence for our sex took place. Mm-hmm. I remember where you were talking about where black women would say like, oh well, white women do that. I don't do that. I remember when they was on comedy shows and all this.
Go get you a white bitch, all that, yeah.
What you failing to understand though is, at that time, that had nothing to do with us as adults. We were not the adults then when that was happening. So what we grew up, we were the first ones to experience the internet. We were the first ones where nudes were getting leaked. We were the first ones that ever had this experience with the internet at all, where we were watching the experience of child predators. We were the very first ones. All of what you're talking about, that had everything to do with the adults before us, where they were saying what they would and would not do during sex. What you also failing to correlate is the fact of white people getting into the music industry and taking it over, because Girls Gone Wild got barred. They took it down. They shifted that and they turned around and they made it into a thing with black culture. And that's where we see black women. You said, hey, why are we seeing where other women want to talk about this, that, and the third? The act of single parenting is a condition and mindset. It has nothing to do with white women. If we were stealing that from white women, we would be married. We would be the most married group. We're not. You're correlating white supremacy along with the art of brainwashing. That had nothing to do with white women culture.
Hold on.
Wait a minute. Give me a second. Say it. I didn't cut you off.
Go ahead.
Because at the baseline of this, white people still play respectability politics. They would disown their children to this day. Black people are the most accepting group of anybody. Even
I
you
agree.
know.
White
people will disown their children. The whole daughter, gay son, that's some white people shit. That ain't come from black people.
I agree.
It's not going to be one or the other. Their daughters would be getting into sports and everything. I'm talking about going hard and come around, find out she pregnant, regardless of who it was by, whether it was a good kid or not. They moved her from a school. They would move them from whole towns. They do not play that whole shit. Even if they find out like how them whole list and everything used to come up in colleges, that stuff started at PWIs. It just transmitted over to HBCUs. It started at PWIs. But it had nothing to do with black women trying to be like white women or finding other ways to keep their man, because black women had to find out the hard way the baby don't keep him. White women did not have that experience as a culture. You're talking about two different women who have two different cultures that do things similarly at the baseline of we are women. It has nothing to do with their culture, because we cannot steal a culture from them. The way I engage with you in sex is by influence, because you know what women are telling other women? Black women are telling other women, girl, he like this. If you don't do it for him, another one will. It's not white women. Most black women are not in proximity to white women getting influenced by them or having conversation with them. Most black women are around some nigga shit. So what you're saying does not have any leverage, because that would mean white women are in direct derivative of black women, telling us what to do, showing us how to act, showing us how to be. No, that comes from socialized programming, bro. That comes from, oh, we see what's happening on TV because white people own media and they put black faces in the front of media to do shit that we think is cool. It has nothing to do with that, because the same way I can sit here and say we have Proud Boys, we have the white supremacy, we have the KKK. Why would I sit here and say, well, are black men trying to be like white men because they pick up violence? That's how you sound. That sounds crazy. Black men, the reason why you guys are violent has nothing to do with white men. It has nothing to do with white men at all. I would never say black men want to be like white men because they violent, even though we know white men are the most violent men ever. So to say black women want to be like white women because they over-sexual, no. Most black women are molested. Most black women could never say anything about themselves. Most black women now have a different mentality of relationships. Most black women have this understanding that, hey, even if me and him not together, I can still operate in a household with a child without him. Most black women have developed a way different rhetoric than white women. First thing you asked me was when I came on here was, why do we have the judgment? You can't judge me in our community. You don't hear white women saying that shit. The moment that somebody called them out and called them a whore, they get offended. You call a black woman a whore who knows she's a whore, she's gonna say, okay, and you're talking about two different things. So you're not trying to be like white women.
So my pushback on that is, I'm gonna say this again. When you said, hold on, you said a bunch of things. You said first that black women would have to be around white women to get influenced by white women, right?
On a regular contingency basis, absolutely.
Okay, but then you say
we don't live in proximity to white people.
Okay, and then you say Girls Gone Wild was an influence of them looking like they had fun, and then you said that a lot of
black women. No, it wasn't. Girls Gone Wild was an influence for white girls who were going to college. You have to realize, even at that time, black women were not in an influx of college how we are now. The whole most enrolled, the whole most enlisted, there was a point of time, even down in the 90s, where a lot of the black women mentality was Girls Gone Wild came out in the early 2000s. Even then, they would say, if you came up pregnant, you ain't going to school. A lot of black girls would need the assistance to go to school. Our reality don't look like this. They pulled Girls Gone Wild because they realized it was influencing white girls who were going to college. They was getting other reports and shit behind it. Had nothing to do with black people at all. So even when they had BT Uncut, you got to realize when Girls Gone Wild was coming on, what that transmitted into? That transmitted into them call lines, where they made white girls look more seductive. They made white girls look more classy. They made it look like white girls can have a little bit more freedom with their sex, and it wasn't them showing ass and titties and getting sloppy drunk.
So that goes
a lot of issues with the sexualization of white girls, and they had a lot of molestations and rapes come up from white girls. But that has nothing to do with black girls, because at that very time, you know what we were seeing in our music videos? Uncle Luke.
Right. So like you said earlier, hold on, how we got on this? You said earlier, black women want to be able to do the bad behaviors of white women. Is that not what you said?
Pass for it. No.
Hold on. No, ain't get a pass from it.
Listen to what I'm saying. The behaviors that women do, period, and get a pass for it like white women. that don't mean we want to be white women. Like, that's where I'm having the issue.
Okay, hold on.
Because
So whore coach. So you're saying black. So let me get this straight. So the women that we got now and the whore culture, black women have always wanted to be whores and do whore things.
Yeah, listen, y'all keep trying to make it seem like because of the fact that everything's on display now, it wasn't always happening. It's a reason why it's a word called Jezebel. It's a reason why they used to have whorehouses. It's a reason why they used to have ladies in the lady of the night.
Hold on. Before you keep going, before you go too far, because you be
all of that black culture. All of them words came from a derivative of black people. It's a reason why they have red light district. That is Asian women. Whoring did not just start.
I agree. Look. What you're saying, I agree 100%, right? But when you said, like I told you, with us, we struggle with time and place. It's all when I tell you that in my city, and I'm around a lot of black people, the black Mecca, and I see the women, majority of the women doing the same thing. That's when it becomes an issue. Do I think? Hold on. When I see that so many women are portraying and acting in whore culture and involving themselves in it at a big number, that's when it becomes a problem, because like you said, they had the brothels, they had the Jezebels. Everybody wanted Jezebel, everybody wanted the brothel. We knew there were certain people, and even when you talk about those type of things, you knew, hey, this person comes from this family. That's why your last name meant so much, because you knew who was going to be a whore, you knew who was going to be a blacksmith, you knew who was going to do this, because typically you took up what your family name was meant for. So when you talk about like Jezebels and whores and stuff like that, of course, I agree. That has always been around. Prostitution, oldest profession in the world. I agree. But to say that it would be crazy to think, for me, I don't believe it. I'm gonna let you take it. To think that it's a vast majority of black women that wanted to do whore shit is crazy. But I don't know.
Actually, this is where this is where we're having disagreements. Your direct words were black women want to be white women. I got an issue with it. That is absolutely the fuck wrong.
But I believe that.
No, you shouldn't. And I'm going to tell you why you shouldn't. You believe it because you believe it off of whorism. But whorism is not the only thing that plays a part into white women. That's where we having a first issue. You're trying to talk about sex. Who gives a fuck about sex? We got a larger issue here. It's not just the behaviors of the sex, right? If that's your main issue with black women, then that's what you should have said. I do not like how black women are portraying themselves to be whores, because this particular behavior used to be associated with white women, the hypersexuality. But the reality is black women have always been hypersexual. It was just suppressed and you couldn't see it. Black women have always been more sexually abused. Black women have always had more sexual partners. Our bodies, our genitals have always been made bigger than theirs. Even by the way we're shaped, it's always been, we have had a different bone structure than white women. When you're talking about the fun girl, the party girl, you're talking about imagery. They used to make the imagery of white girls the fun girl, the party girl, the dumb blonde American Pie. Hi, yeah, I'm Holly, and I'm gonna and Clueless, the fun, pretty, blue-eyed, blonde-haired party girl who was just, she's down for where DTF, down to fuck. They changed that image because they realized it was not good for their women. So while you're sitting here trying to conflate a programming to actual real life, because you have an issue with the sex, it's the same way.
Hold on. I just use that one particular thing, but I do have an issue with sex. But I just use that as one of the reasons.
I feel offended by that because I feel like that's doing us a disservice in totality, especially when it's black women who are going to bat every single time it's a white woman coming up with her white woman tears, trying to make a ploy or victimize herself. It's black women standing. This is why I have an issue with how black women portray themselves like individuals with black men too. Because a lot of black women talk like black men weren't around, but it's fucking struggle. So for you to sit here as a black man and tell me as a black woman that you believe 50% of us are trying to be white women with no contingency to stand up on, you're telling us we're trying to be like.
Hold on,
Wait a minute. You telling us we're trying to be like the women that we help raise their kids, we help show how to bath, we help show how to groom themselves, we help show how to feed themselves, we help show how to do everything. We were having sex with their husbands to show them how to do it against our will. They used to get off on that. It's a reason why you have play parties and stuff like that. Black women weren't able to get into Playboy. That was something exclusive for white women. They have always had a very aggressive sexual nature, far more promiscuous than ours, but that doesn't mean that hypersexuality has not been embedded in Black culture today. Everything on display. There is no more discernment for anything. Anything you want to think about. People are literally filming their everyday lives and showing you their house. And
So let me jump in here because you go too far. So the sex part was one issue, but I can go. It's numerous of things. For instance, when I see black women wearing blue contacts and wearing blonde wigs, and when I see black women putting hair in their head that doesn't look like that, doesn't naturally grow out their head for an aesthetic, because like we know that when you see the posters, you seen the white women with the long straight hair. There were a lot of things that was picked up. And you can even hold on. And was even when you even go back to the story of the Madam C.J. Walker and why she made her hair products to make you look more like a mulatto or a white lady. This is actual stuff you can go and look at of why these products sold the way they did, because it made your hair texture look a little more Europeanized. Just think about it. It's plenty of things that we can look at to say, oh yeah, I can see why this person is doing X, Y, and Z. I can see where they get this from. And the reason that I use sex, because typically I don't think that this is what I'm gonna say. I do think people in general like to have sex, right? That's across the board. But when it comes to hypersexuality, like for instance, oral sex, a penis and a vagina is not a place where that belongs. So doing something like that, and when black women say, I'm not doing it, well, what is your influence and what is your reasoning behind doing it now? Because you hear black men say, hey, I was over here with Becky and Becky was sucking the skin out there motherfucker and I like this. And then you hear and we both agreed. We heard black women say, hey, I don't want my men, our men are getting taken by white women, or nigga talking about he going over the track. So when we talk about sex and the stuff that I've dealt with being around white people and black people, it just totally different. Even how, and that's why I say what I say. I believe white women were whores. But even how they did whorism, they left out a piece that black women didn't pick up on, like not having a whole bunch of kids, not having a bunch of baby daddies. So now we in a time where black men are speaking out and saying, hey, y'all got all these kids. We don't want to marry y'all with all these kids. Like, it's a statistic that black women are the least married, but got the most kids out in the black community. Like, this is a thing. Like, okay, I don't understand.
What you're saying has no core. Listen, you saying, hey, white women were performing a sexual act, and so black women start also opening up their sexuality to perform the sexual act. Now they want to be like white women. What?
Yes, and the reason. Hold on.
I can relate the same thing to violence. I can literally say, in history, white men have always been the most violent.
Well, hold on, but even when you even when you said that point, I was like, maybe that is why black men are violent. Because hold on, listen, just listen. That's weird. Hold on, just listen to what I'm saying. Some things. I think with black women, it's a direct thing where they're thinking like, yes, I want to be like white women. With black men, I don't necessarily think. I'm telling you from my experience. This is my lived experience.
From your observation. You're not saying from an experience. An experience is a black woman who I am walking in an everyday identity as a black woman who has proximity to primarily more black women than you because I'm a woman. So automatically I'm around other women majority of the time based off of me being a woman. Typically, anytime you put a person in their environment, they navigate to the familiarity of their group dynamic, of their identity. That's automatically. If you take a black man and you put him in a room with men and women of all different colors, he's going to gravitate to a group of men. You take a black woman, you put him in a room, they gravitate to a group of women. And that's literally how that works. So what I'm telling you is all of these things that you're bringing up are nuanced points of brainwashing. Even when you brought up Madam C.J. Walker, it wasn't the identity of trying to be exactly like a white woman. It was the, oh, if I look like this, my life would be easier because I have seen mulatto women look like this. Let me attempt to do something to make my hair straighter because I would be able to get a job that I no longer could get because white women brought up feminism and then they put themselves in a dynamic where they trump black women with jobs. I don't know if you know, but based off of when everybody went over to war, all the men went over to war after the Great Depression, everybody come back, right? That's when we had the whole gist of feminism because black women were nurses, we was midwives, we was cooks, we was drivers, we was everything. Seamstress, we did everything. And white women finally decided, the men that came back, okay, I want to work. Okay, we got all these other jobs, typewriters, this, that, and the third. Black women were already in them positions. They came in and they trumped us and got into them positions. So the idea of even our imagery has nothing to do with us wanting to be white. Our imagery has everything to do with the advancement of what we think about how we should be able to get into certain dynamics because of the fact that white women, they don't operate under the same contingency and they are able to do it freely. What our struggles is don't look like their struggles. Just because I'm sitting here saying, hey, I know if I wear braids to this interview, I'm not going to get the job, don't mean that I want to be a white woman because I took my hair out and flattened it. Or just because a woman is saying, hey, let me put in blue contacts, don't mean she want to be, hold on. It don't mean she want to be a white woman because here's the thing. Y'all fail to remember blonde hair, blue eyes is not akin to only white people. Blonde hair, blue eyes. I know my best friend's sister, born with blonde hair, green eyes. Blonde hair literally grow out the roots of her head. She ain't coloring her hair. Literally, her daughter.
Hold on. Before you go too far.
When you say these things, right? When you're saying, hey, it's because you wear your hair like this. No, black women have had a conditioning of brainwashing about their hair. The same way niggas say. The same way some men who are black feel like, well, if I marry a white woman, she's going to act this way. She's going to move her body this way. It's conditioning, bro. It's not real. You're talking about the Matrix. It's made up.
I'm going to say this again. From me and my lived experience dealing with black women, hearing them talk, even so much. Have you heard a black woman say this? I know I'm cute because even white men will date me. Have you ever heard somebody say that?
Hell no, because I don't deal around no black women who are divestors. I see it on the internet. But that's not my reality because even the way I grew up, we knew better. We knew interracial dating wasn't a thing. Where I'm from, it's still a white side and a black side. Where I'm from, you still can't go to certain parts of the city past nighttime when the street lights come on. Where I'm from, they just had a KKK meeting that was nationwide where they put all black people on standby. I come from one of the two blackest counties in the state of Arkansas. They literally put the whole college on lockdown because they was having a KKK meeting in Monticello. What you're talking about, I can't relate to because when we saw black people with white people, we looked at them like they were the oddball out. So to even try to merge these 2 points to say the hair, the sex, it means nothing, bro. You're talking about a social conditioning. Hold on. Black men feel like they get money and they think that they're better than other black people. That's white power. That's how white people think.
Hold on. So I got a lot of points because you keep going on. You never let me address a point when you say, first of all, when you talk about the hair and the blue eyes, those are rare occurrences, right? So, and I even looked up.
But it's not akin to white people.
Oh, listen to what I'm saying. Those are rare occurrences just because. Hold on. Those are rare. Those are rare occurrences. It's equivalent to like albinos. It's not something that we would say it is basically to black people, but that a lot of black people have. But you might see an albino in Walmart once or twice a year, right? It might happen, right?
No, not for me.
Well, for me, and I'm in Birmingham, so I might see an albino once or twice a year. Okay, so when we talk about the blonde hair and the blue eyes of black people, yeah, they got a place, melanesia. Okay, so we understand that happens. Not saying that it's only in white people, but for black people in America, when the beauty standards, and I'm not talking about to go get a job, I'm not talking about to go work at a factory or drive a cab. We're talking about beauty standards. When you look at your magazines and there was a white person on it, when you looked at movies and there was a white person on it, when you looked at all of this, and I will agree with you on this point about the social engineering aspect about beauty and wanting for women to want to be close to beauty. So that's why they do certain things. But what the issue is now, and black men have repeatedly said this to this day, we like y'all as natural as possible. You ain't got to wear all the lashes. We ain't got to wear the lashes. You ain't got to put the wigs on. You ain't got to do all of this. Like, even when y'all do y'all makeup now, y'all facial structure, y'all even make y'all facial structure look different. Y'all contour y'all nose to make it look smaller. And black men to this day are still saying, baby, we like y'all natural. But y'all would sit there. I've seen it come and say, we don't do this for y'all. We don't do this for.
How does that correlate to what the actual thought process? Like, everything you said. Again, I think that they're not marriageable points. I don't even think you can marry them together, because what you're talking about.
So why would you?
Hold on, wait a minute. The question you're talking about, marrying 2 points of black men's preferences of reaffirming for black women their beauty versus black women modifying their beauties to adhere to a European standard. What does that have to do with actually saying black women want to be like white women? Follow me. I want that.
When you do, hold on. So when you do something to mimic something, that would be trying to be like them. For a point that you said, when black women want to have do the bad behavior and get a pass, if you're doing something or mimicking something, that would be trying to be like it. That is technically the word mimicking. If you're trying to follow or do something, it's not that hard. If you're doing something, putting a different type of hair texture in your hair that doesn't naturally grow out, but you're trying to have the same texture as the white woman, well, why are you doing this? Like, what is your influence? Why do you think this is a bright idea to go and glue your hair down, put a wig cap on, and go through all of this to look like you look? Like, that doesn't even make sense. Like,
but that has literally nothing to do with. Listen, what you said was 5 out of 10 black women want to be one. You are absolutely the hell wrong.
But I believe that, and I stand by that.
You're wrong, and you're wrong because when you're talking about all of these things, you're lacking in education behind it, all because of your personal objective of that viewpoint. You don't like the hair. You don't like the hypersexuality. Am I putting words in your mouth? Do you not like it? You just said it. You don't like it.
Hold on. Before you go too far.
No,
Hold on. I'm finna answer your question, but I know you finna run out because you run out 5 minutes at a time. I gotta hold you down. I personally don't like it. Yes. Hold on. Listen. Don't go nowhere. Listen. Just listen. Hold on.
Like it.
But, and good point said, Paris, you're not accepting honest pushback. But I
don't give a damn what they talk about in the comments.
Hold on. I'm gonna say this. When I have conversations with other black men, and just how you try to use the point of you being around more women than me, I would have to attest that I've been around more men than you in the locker rooms, in church events, and men groups. And so when I tell you this type of stuff, I'm telling you, like, most men are saying, you really going to glue your real hair down to put another something on it? And I say this point all the time. You don't cover up what you're proud of. Black women so proud of their ass. That's why we see ass all the time on the internet, but then you cover up your hair and do other things. And I ain't even talking about braids, because I feel like culturally that's a cultural thing, right? But when it comes to like the wigs and the texture of the hair, that is definitely a mimicking of something else. Like, I don't even know how that is not even, like, even the color blonde hair. Like that is not naturally how black people in America's hair grow. You can
Right.
have,
What's
I
up
don't
there,
care.
black
You can
people
have a reoccurrence. You can have a reoccurrence of it. Cool, here or there. Like I said, albino people, I might see 2 albino people a year, but for the most part, black people's hair is going to be black and kind of 4C-ish. That's typically what you're gonna do. We don't do we go off the general typically. So that's all I'm saying.
Okay. So this is why what you're saying is wrong. Not only do you have a inherent disdain about it, right? Like, and nothing's wrong with you feeling like I don't like this. This doesn't, turn me on. I'm not attracted to it. But you're only akinning a couple things that have a lot to do with social conditioning. Listen, I'm a woman.
I agree.
Wait a minute.
I
I'm
agree.
a woman who I'm gonna use myself. I'm a woman who wear wigs. I'm a woman who modifies my hair and I manipulate it everywhere I could. I got hair down my back. My mane is so big, my fro is so bushy. I have hair down my back. The same thing you're saying, I used to hear growing up. My mom used to keep me with a hair appointment. I got 3 aunties who are licensed beauticians. And I used to have a hair appointment every Thursday. That was part of my culture. That was part of my growing up. I never got an opportunity to know this hair. So when my dad used to say, hey, why you put that stuff in your head? You got hair on your head. I did not understand where he was coming from because I never was given the opportunity to know this hair. It had nothing to do with self-hatred and it had nothing to do with being a white person. This is coming from a person who's been around white people. This is coming from a person who knew it was unacceptable to interracially date. This is coming from a person who knew at any given moment in time, I could have a nasty encounter with a white person based off of nothing. I grew up like that. Again, I come from a place where it's still a white side, it's still a black side across the tracks. I remember when my school integrated and the white people, because it was predominantly white, merged out. They left. They started going over, getting their kids into private school. We seen a lot of them leave in a mass. Whereas my classes used to be approximately 75-80% white, they went to completely maybe 10%. So when you're talking about black women and our hair, or you're talking about the hypersexuality, you're not addressing the actual statement that you said of black women wanting to be white women. That has nothing to do with wanting to be white women. When you say, hey, why are black women trying to get a pass or approval for doing the things that white women do? That still has nothing to do with actually wanting to be white women. That has everything to do with our men and men adjacent to our men have always felt like it was acceptable for them motherfuckers to do bad things. And when it came to black women, such as you said yourself, we had to carry ourselves to a higher hierarchy and we have to be the honorary thing. We have to be the badge, the token one, but we are never treated in that same manner. So all black women are saying is the same way you sit here and you let her be screaming, belligerent, and that turns you on. When I do it, stop gaslighting me, calling me aggressive and manipulative. The same way black barbershops have a certain culture where you guys put certain lines in your head, you have certain things around your cuts, and you have braids, and we deal with gold. That is a cultural thing. The hair is a cultural thing. Colors in our hair have been a cultural thing. Bonner Brothers is a whole $1 billion hair industry off of black women because our hair was never acceptable. It was a form and freedom of oppression, even down to the way that we wig our hair, even down to our braids. They used to put maps of slave routes in our hair. When you talk about our hair, they always told us our hair wasn't good enough. They used to cut our hair and put it in chairs so they can cushion their ass. So for you to sit here and tell me as a black man, you think I want to be a white woman because I know how to do a little science and a little dye for some hair that I never had the opportunity to know from people who came and took me and brought me over to this country from my ancestors to try and be like their women who could not, they do not even read better than black women. They do not even do anything remotely like black women. It does not correlate. All black women have always said is, we women, just like their women, If you gonna mistreat us, mistreat them. But if you not gonna mistreat them, don't mistreat us. Because
Well, hold on.
hold on, wait a minute. Because you're letting them get away with a lot of BS. But we do the same thing and we get more strife from it. That's all the conversation has ever been. And even though you have been around me, and I also heard me, I could attest to what Black men have said. We don't need you to do all of that. We can reaffirm your beauty. I think you're beautiful. I think you this, that, and the third. Even the pushback on that is the reason as to why is because a lot of women, wrong way to go about it. Let's be clear. A lot of women receive more attention when they are behaving in a hypersexual manner. Don't agree with it, but that's the reality. When you go outside and your ass out, you're getting a lot more attention than you is when you're walking around and you're dressed down to your ankles.
So you said a lot that need to be addressed. First of all, we both agree that sexually white people and Black people view sex differently. We did not.
Yeah, because they sleep with each other cousins.
Hold on. So culturally, we said that there was a difference between white women and Black women, white sex and Black sex culturally.
Yeah.
And you said Black women want to get a pass that white women do, right?
When it comes to bad behaviors, because we're still doing the same thing.
Okay. So
we're doing the same thing.
Okay, so as Black men, are Black men giving the white women a pass? Because how are we giving the white women a pass when we're not even typically dating white women? We still marry Black women like at 90%.
It's not about the dating. This is where it gets conflated. Because one thing
if you're about to say sex, Black men ain't even having sex with white women like that.
I'm not gonna say sex at all.
Okay.
You ain't gotta predict what I'm gonna say. I'm gonna tell you what I'm gonna say.
Go ahead.
The reason as to why it gets conflated, because even when it comes down to the hair, Black men have this closed off idea that only Black women deal with extensions. For some reason, Black men lack education around the things that they have an inherent disdain towards.
Why y'all do that? Why y'all do that?
No. I'm not sitting here trying to justify
because
nothing.
Hold on. Because even with extensions, it's still typically the texture of the whole point is changing your texture. Even when Chris Rock does a thing about good hair, you see the products that go into making your hair straight. Like literally, it's not good for you. But when y'all say white women have extensions, of course, nobody's saying that, because the extensions typically look like the hair texture that they're putting in their hair. Even when y'all be saying stuff about
a lot of times white women color their hair too. It's always been common for white, and like I said, I know you in Birmingham, so you've seen little white girls walk around with pink and green and hair in their head, and that stuff started with them. Even when we had the little color things on the television and stuff like that, the painting and stuff, writings on the wall, that stuff start with them. You don't see Black people buying stuff for their kids to just go right on walls. Do it happen? Yes. We are not encouraging it. So when you're talking about the culture of Black people and the culture of white people, I think the issue here is the fact that Black men, right? I ain't talking about dating aside. How you guys perpetuate and view white women is the same social conditioning that we have. We have always have been conditioned, because I'm not going to say this is actually what it is. We have always been conditioned that white women tears get them where they need to go. So if you already know that, and you sit here saying, hey, well, I mean, Black women did the same thing. Why are we putting Black women on a pedestal of saying she has to be better than her when both of them are women? If you're seeing them as equal as women, you don't think nobody from it in totality. You sit over here, you saying, hey, white women act like this. When they get upset, they yell, they scream, they cry, this, that, and the third. But when Black women get upset, we are called aggressive, loud, masculine. She overreacting. It's very dismissive. It's very passive. I ain't talking about dating at all. I'm literally talking about behavior.
Hold on. Because what you said is a lot. But Black men don't look at white women like they're a trophy or anything like that. Like you're trying to make it.
I didn't say you did. I said Black men have been conditioned. I was very clear with my words. Black men have been conditioned the same way Black women have been conditioned to stoic theatrics from white women. And what I'm saying is, we all know that if a Black woman is behaving a certain type of way, right? The first thing Black men say, or not even Black men, just men in general, because I'm not going to put this on all Black men, men in general say, hey, she doing too much. She aggressive. She loud. She this, that, and the third. You talking about a imagery, bro. And your issue with imagery should be addressed directly as Black women. But if you are going to dismiss it and try to make it seem like we want to be white women, even though white women have taken our same look, they've taken the colorful hair, they've taken synthetic hair, they've taken the long nails, they've taken the extra extended lashes, even though they made it their own way. They can't make their hair our hair. Their hair is not as versatile as our hair, but they also weren't get castrated for their fucking hair. So for you to even say that, I feel a ways about it. Like, I've never been
and it shows because like you keep over talking, because every time I try to make a point, my point is not wrong. My point is not wrong. And
maybe you
hold on. My point not wrong. And the reason my point not wrong, because before we started this conversation, you said 3 out of 10, and my point was 5 out of 10. So I only moved the goalpost 20% on what I think, but we both okay. So even if I think it's a lot, it is what. Even if you think it's a lot, it is what it is. We both agree. Hold on.
Have a conversation with me and not be open to hearing my perspective and shutting it down.
No, I'm here. Look, I've been letting you go. Look, I've been letting you go on for a lot. Trust me, you can play this back, and I've been sitting here because you say so many points and you don't let me address the point. So when I get ready to address each point that you go through, like the 5 or 6, it's hard for me to go back and remember all of the points that you give me because you go on with so many. But like I was saying, Black men can't excuse Black women on any behavior when Black men and women had no power to excuse a behavior. Also, Black men aren't telling Black women, hey, this white woman over here doing XYZ, you're supposed to be better than her. We're not saying that. We're saying, hey, culturally, we don't act like them. Black women act a certain type of way. White women act a certain type of way. White men act a certain type of way. Black men act a certain type of way. I'm not asking you to be holier than thou. I'm not asking you go above and beyond because you're a Black woman. I am just simply saying, hey, that's white folks shit over there. If we right now, me and you both can agree. If we seen an article that came down and said woman got caught sucking a dog dick, we both would say, that's some white folk shit. And we'd be like, oh, niggas don't do that. But soon as I say, oh, well, niggas don't fuck like white women people do it, then your excuse for Black women wanted to is they want to get the pass to do so. So that could be anything. Like somebody could say, well, I want to suck a dog dick too. Like you can't say that. Like you have to stick to what you like culturally, what you do culturally. That's why us as Black people have always been, and I say this, have been the moral compass for what goes on in society. And when they got to us and made us degenerate like everybody else in this society, that way they can have their way to do whatever they want. That's why I said about the abortion topic. I don't know how you feel about it, is neither here or there, but when it comes to something like that, something that's literally genocide, you have to go to the Black church, get it infiltrated there, because that's where we congregated, got our news from, got how we was gonna act, got who the KKK was coming, got how who birthdays, who family members, all of it, because that's where we got our news. Not everybody's getting their news from the same place. It's the cell phone. But like I was saying, nobody as Black men are not asking you to be better than a white woman. That is not, I've never heard a Black man say that. I just always heard Black men say, that's that white folk shit. And I know you've said, oh, that's that white folk shit. We don't do that. So for you to say that Black women just want to pass on the same shit that white women do, I, as a Black man, find that disheartening, because why do you want to pass to do degenerate shit? Sexual stuff is supposed to, from what Black women say on the internet and from the Black women that I talk to, sex is supposed to be sacred. It's supposed to be kept. It's supposed to be private. But now it's not that anymore. So I don't understand the whole idea. I want to do degenerate shit like a white bitch. I want to suck a dick like a white bitch. Like that don't even, to me, that doesn't even make sense.
You completely misheard me. And you completely misheard me because you were dead set on what you think. And I'm one of the first people to say I don't have conversations to change people's mind. I don't. And this is the first time I went into a conversation where I'm like, I want to change his mind. But I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to stop wanting to change your mind. That's not what I said. And I definitely know that you misheard me. Black women have always said we act just like them. Always. We've always said we act just like women. We do the things that women do. So if you're going to give them a pass and excuse their bad behavior, you should do the same for black women in the event that we have bad behavior. If you're saying, hey, we're doing something good, then we should get rewarded on the same token of doing something good. But for your words to be black women want to be white women because of hair, when their culture has never been hair, it was ours. Their culture, at not one point in time, they stole extensions from us. They stole color from us. We were the ones who made it. They stole makeup from us. And then what they were able to do was publicize it. They were able to put it in a position to where they could capitalize off of it. They were able to increase something called, embed something called Cosmopolitan, which the spinoff to Cosmopolitan was Jet Magazine. And which was Ebony Magazine. So when you're sitting here saying these things,
hold on. You froze up. You've been froze about 20 seconds. You heard me? Can you hear me? Okay, yeah, you was froze up for 20 seconds. So I didn't hear what you were saying. Did you hear me? See me waving and stuff?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I was trying to tell you that you was froze. I didn't know if you heard me or not.
But what I'm saying is, where your prejudice about these things come from, literally lack education. You're talking about a socializing that you're seeing. I'm not for the degenerate behavior, but what I am saying is, when white women do things like have multiple baby daddies, y'all don't call them baby mamas. You know why? Because they ass gonna get remarried again. It don't make them less than a baby mama though, for one man. When they have stepchildren, just because it's not a part of the main facet of their culture, does not mean that they're doing those things. But the idea is minimizing black women behind it. I never said that black men want black women to be better than white women. I can also attest to that we look at sex differently. It's not a very common thing for black women to sleep around within the same colony or community. That's not what we do. That's some white women shit when you hear, oh, they slept, she married her ex-husband's cousin. That's shit that they do. It's not common for black women. Do it happen? Yes, it absolutely happens. But what I'm saying is, the things that you mentioned actually have a historical context behind them. And if those are your base points for saying black women want to be white women, when I actually said there have always been coons. And I gave it the 3 to 4% now. There have always been coons. I even said that 4% was still gradually too high because we have divestors now. And we have also something that's called, we've always had black men who decide that they are going to just go be with white women. We've always had the Chris Browns. We've always had the Tristan Thompsons. We've always had those black men, the Scottie Pimpens. We always had those black men who go in sectors and they get with a woman who is not black. And that is how they capitalize themselves. They take their riches, they take their gold, and they go do it with somebody who is not black. Those people have always existed. That does not mean that black women in a half want to be white women. And it has nothing to do with the hair. And it has nothing to do with the sex. If you can acknowledge we don't even look at it the same way, I would beg you to go and get some more historical context behind it, as opposed to the socialization that you're looking at.
We both agree. Hold on. The one thing, I want you to watch this video back, because you did say you black men want black women to be better than white. So look back, because I've been keeping up on everything that you say, and then you went out say a point, then you say you didn't say it. So I would advise you to go back and look at this whole thing, because some points you did walk back on. Also, I agree, and I'm gonna stay. I agree with you about social engineering 100%. That's not up for debate. I agree. We agree 100% about that. But even with social engineering, that doesn't mean you have to follow the crowd, right? And that's where my thing was. Even when we talking about, like you said, black women just wanted the same pass as white women. I don't understand why you need a pass to do the same thing as them. Like that's just where I'm at. You say I misheard you, but I just don't understand where at any time you would need a pass to do something that we
Because
don't.
you are mishearing me. Even when you saying you're intentionally cutting it off at pass. And even when I brought up the positive parts of it, I literally said it. They're gonna get rewarded for certain things. We should be rewarded in the same way because we are women.
Like what?
I'm just saying in general.
Like
It
what?
don't matter what the example is. It really don't matter what the example is. If you're gonna look at a white woman and go, oh well, she overweight, she got a child, and she got another child, but she on her second husband, and not characterize her as a fat baby mama, you shouldn't do the same thing to black women. And that's what y'all be doing. You mentioned how we have all these kids and this and the third.
I disagree with that one.
Of course you do.
No, because no. I agree about if the white woman doing the same thing as the black woman, they should be categorized the same way. I agree 100%.
Then it should stop there because that was the whole entire point that I was making. So,
but you hold on. You said no. The other point. Hold on. The other point.
Black woman is doing something that you guys do not find to be worthwhile. If you find it to be disgusting or whatever because of black women doing it, don't give it no pass if the white woman doing it. That's been the whole thing.
And that was the other point. You said start right there, but that wasn't the other point because I don't see. This is just me being like you said. You use this point about being around other, and we're gonna move on after this. I got a few more questions. I'm gonna let you. Well, it's 2 hours. If you want to do another one, whatever. But your point was that we give it a pass, that black men give it a pass to say
I also
that.
went back and said not all black men. I'm not gonna put that on black men.
Okay, well, you know, us men do it. Okay, well, generally, okay, general is cool. Okay, so generally, men would go and get his white woman to pass for being a fat 2-time baby mama, 2-time loser, whatever, whoop. And black men will just let that pass, but we don't give it the same pass on black women. I have not,
I didn't say nobody let that pass. I said if you would see in general, right? Because I see here I have to be very specific with my words. If you see a white woman who is just acting belligerent and you don't call her aggressive the way that you would call a black woman, because to me that's bad behavior. If she just out in public, she just yelling, screaming, and ain't nobody looking at her upside her head, telling her she acting a damn fool. But if you seen a black woman getting loud in public and she because you try to make it about sex, we can go a million different ways. I don't give a damn about sex.
Mm-hmm.
If I see 2 women, one happened to be black, one happened to be white, both of them in a different Walmart, both of them showing their ass in Walmart. I don't want to hear, oh, she loud, she ghetto, she embarrassing, if you would not say the same shit towards a white woman. That was the bottom line. All the extra shit.
I agree.
That was the answer to the question.
But with that, I agree with that point wholeheartedly. And what I was about to say is I haven't been around men that's like, oh, you know, Lashinka Shay got, you know, 2 kids and 2 baby daddies, woo, and look at a white woman and say the same thing and treat that white woman as if she was a prize. I've never said that. I think the conversations with black men have typically been the same. If she got them kids and she got baby daddies or whatever, that's a no-go, because why would I want to take care of another man?
You're trying to defend black men. When I said men in general, I ain't call out no demographic of men. I said men in general.
I like to put the black on it because I like I said, right. I don't know what go on.
I'm specific.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna put black on it because when I told you I've had an experience around white people, this, that, and the third, first thing you said was I have too. And then when I said I've been predominantly around women, you know, first thing you said was I've been predominantly around men. So again, don't try to key your points to mine when I'm telling you specifically, because at that point you're putting words in my mouth. I'm not saying all black men. I'm saying men in general. I'm saying the issue with the question that you posed of saying, do you believe black women want to be white women? My answer is no, because we have always had coons. But in reality, when you put the phone down, Black women are operating in society on respectability politics, showing up with their representatives. Majority of the time, they care about their image and they're hiding their real fashion in society. So again, if you were to see a Black woman in the store, she's yelling, screaming, belligerent. Don't call her aggressive. Don't call her ghetto if you didn't see the white woman doing the same thing and give her that same label. That was the baseline of the point. I can give a damn if it's Black men, white men, Asian men, Hispanic men. It don't matter. Men in general. This is the bad behavior and the degeneracy that I'm talking about. That's what Black women are saying. Hey, if you wouldn't do it for them, don't do it for us. If you would sit here and praise her for the bare minimum, she can barely show up to work. She can still get a raise and she can still benefit off the company profit share. I should be able to barely show up to work and still get a raise because I know I work harder than her. That's women's issue. It has nothing to do with us actually wanting to be white women because we know how to color a wig real good.
I agree about holding both people to the same standard. I agree with that 100%. So since we're talking about this, how did you feel about interracial dating?
I don't agree with interracial dating. I don't care if people do it, but it's not my thing. I believe in keeping the bloodline pure.
So even if a Black man dates, or if anybody dates interracially, man or woman, Black man or woman, would you still call those people coons, or could they have just genuinely found love?
I think you have to be very mindful of how the environment is structured, because when I mentioned earlier, it's very common for Black men when they do date out, which of course we know that's not a common phenomenon between Black people, period. When Black men date out, they typically go and they attach themselves to that woman's community.
Yeah.
I can't control your children only growing up in a white environment and only knowing how to integrate with white people and only knowing how to date amongst their social status and how to network amongst them. I can't control that. But if you're talking about a Black person that come from a primarily Black environment such as I have, well, even though the city that I lived in was primarily white populace, my environment was primarily Black. If you're talking about that, I look at that completely different, because now it's something else going on. Like now you gotta answer for what the fuck you going through. But all of those issues have little nuances to it. In totality, when it comes to interracial dating, I am against interracial dating, but I do not get to be the barometer of what make other people happy. As long as they keep other Black people out of it and they feel like they're doing what's best for them, go ahead. But I don't stand for men who feel like, oh, well, I'm going to go get a white woman or an Asian woman because she act like this and Black women don't. Because that makes no sense. Or I don't stand for women who are saying, well, these Black men are not this, these Black men are not that, so let me just go get a white man. I don't stand for that. If that's what you want to do, go do it. But even when you're talking about sex, and I know you mentioned like the bigger genitals, this, that, and the third, Black women have always had the cream of the crop when it comes to Black men. When they even do those sexual reports about women being unsatisfied, this, that, and the third, that has nothing to do with Black women. Most Black women are not sexually deprived. Those stats come from white women. Even when they talk about the lack of sex, like most men are not having sex, I personally don't believe that Black men are as hypersexual as people like to make y'all. But I will say that those statistics about men not having sex is not Black men. Black men don't have that mass of an issue, because even if y'all are not, quote unquote, getting married at a significant number, right? Y'all are still the most fetishized. So there is access to sex for you far greater than it would be for an Asian man or Hispanic man.
Yeah, I don't think. I think we are over sexualized too and fetishized, like you said. But most of the guys that I know, they ain't even trying to like. Well, I'm gonna say my age. We was a little wild when I was younger, but I'm 30, about to be 35 this year, so it's a little different. Ain't nobody even looking at a woman in the same manner nowadays. It's like that look more like a headache than than a good time.
And I would say that literally has to deal with your mentality, because
Hmm.
the same way, like 35, I would consider you my peer. I
Hmm.
know some 35-year-old men who they still trying to act like they recycled teenagers. They still trying to act like they college boys.
Hmm.
They ain't quit. They at every Greek picnic. They at every event. They at every function trying to find the next thing moving. They ain't got no type of um plan to settle down.
Right.
That's something that
Or
we don't
or
talk about
plan
when it
or
comes
plan for their
to.
life.
Exactly. And that's something we don't talk about when it comes to all these baby mamas and dating and stuff like that. We don't talk about the fact that there are men, even though they may or may not have children, most of the time, even when they ain't got children, they still running around here playing games too. So, the way that you are, you got to realize you probably an anomaly. You probably a very, small sector of a man, because when you get into bigger cities, a lot of times men have a lot access of their leisure, which is why like now online you can see a lot of men talking about some, well, I ain't gotta wait, I ain't gotta do this because I'm gonna still have this, this, and this. I'm gonna
Hmm.
still have this, this, and this, because the reality is they know even at their age, the women don't care.
Yeah. So you said that the black community was a matriarch. So in 2020 during the election, I don't know if you get into politics or not. Do you follow politics?
I do.
So in 2020 when the election happened, it was about 20% of black people who voted for Donald Trump, right? Predominantly men, right? And during the in the media, they tried to act like black men and black women had a discrepancy with each other because so many black men decided to vote for Donald Trump. Do you think it's fair for black women to try to control the vote of black men? And do you think more black men would have voted for Donald Trump if they weren't scared of the backlash that would come from it? And what I mean by that, like even Ice Cube wanted to talk to Trump about his plan and he got, backlash about that. What do you think about that?
Um, Black women don't have the primary control in politics for them to control how black men vote.
Hmm.
There's more black men in politics than it is black women. The
Hmm.
issue with what you're talking about is the fact that black men don't vote the way that black women do, regardless.
Hmm.
Black men don't participate in the government the way that black women do. Black men is the only demographic of people who are individuals when it comes to the government. If you guys could, which we've seen it before with the KKK, we've seen it before with the Bloods and the Crips, you would absolutely create your own community and you would get everything that you need, even down to the Nation of Islam. We've seen it.
Hmm.
So we've seen it multiple times with black men. You don't operate in the same contingency of relying and depending on the government. So I don't think that black women have the voice to project that. I didn't just see black women also saying anything to Ice Cube. It was more so black men because, of course, black men are more so concerned about where their money goes. And it was a
Hmm.
lot of celebrities who didn't say anything at all or gave him any type of outcry and support because majority of them actually do support Republican. But I've always seen where black men themselves have been on the fence about voting Democrat or voting Republican
Hmm.
because black men typically had more politics. I don't
Yeah.
think that black women have anything to do with that at all.
Well, why would they? Because I remember reports and even when I think Stacey Abrams, I think that's her name, in Georgia was running,
It
and
was.
yeah, and they had released articles talking about how like I said, it was a disconnect between the black men and black women, and trying to, I guess, like perpetuate like a gender war between us. And I was like, why is this a narrative to even put out when everybody can vote how they want to vote?
Right, because black people influence things. You mentioned it earlier, and that was one of the reasons why they were marketing the COVID shot to us. That was also one of the reasons why they market, you know, almost any the go out and vote.
Hold on, before you go any further, how did you feel about Juvenile vax that thing up?
I didn't agree with that, but before we even, I don't want to talk about COVID,
Oh
but
yeah.
I
Oh,
will
okay.
say
Okay.
that since the 2000s, when I remember P Diddy was on 106 in Park, when I remember you had a herd of different celebrities. Big Tigger used to do the basement. They used to have AJ and Free before Bow Wow even got on 106 in Park talk about voting. Voting
Yeah.
has always been influenced to black people. And so again, black men, particularly the ones who do vote,
Mm-hmm.
ones who do have a heavy political influence, that's always been unwavering. That
Okay.
hasn't changed. But again, black men typically are not the ones who are needing to be influenced or swayed, because what happens in politics is people typically vote how their house is.
I agree.
Or they
So
don't
let me,
talk
I
about
got I got 3 more questions, and I'm gonna let you go because you've been great. You've gone longer than what I've asked you your time, and I want to tell you that I thank you so much.
it. You
This
welcome.
is a good question. Do black women weaponize therapy against black men?
Yeah.
How so?
Because they don't actually mean go get therapy. They
What
mean
what they
fuck
mean?
you.
They mean what?
Fuck you.
Well, so when they tell black men they need therapy, that mean fuck you.
When a person is telling another person at this day and time to go get therapy, they're not actually saying it with good intentions behind it. Because if a person actually wanted you to get therapy, they would provide you resources to do so. There's actually no care or no actual regard for black men's mental health in that manner. A lot of times when that term comes up is because a woman has said something to a man and a man responded and they did not agree with each other. It is used as an insult. It is not used in a way that is actually productive.
Oh dang, I ain't know that. Dang. So all them girls are telling me fuck me. Damn. Okay, so what about education? They weaponize education too?
Yeah.
And how do they weaponize education?
I mean, the same reason. To know
They
these things, like to know about suicide, to know about the high poverty, to know that black men have the high homeless rate, to know that black men have the highest unemployment rate, to know that black men have all of these disadvantages, right? And you're
Mhm.
still trying to give them the trope of they benefit off the patriarchy, this, that, and the third. To know that they have all of these other catalysts against them, and
Mhm.
then you say something like, "Oh, your ass can't read," or this, that, and the third. If I don't know you and we just joking or whatever the case may be, that's one thing. But why are they saying that to you in a conversation?
Mhm.
If they're not trying to be condescending, if they're not at every nick and turn talking about how we're degreed, if they're not at every nick and turn talking about, oh, I'm smart, we playing the battle of who's wittier, right? So if I'm telling you I'm smarter than you and you shitting on me, why would I not minimize your education? It's saying fuck you.
Yeah. Well, I agree that I listening to you say that, I never thought that ever. My phone. Hold on, my phone started playing. I don't know if my phone started playing that video. But yeah, like I was saying, like I never thought that meant fuck you. I honestly thought that black women was trying to tell us that we need to get therapy. But then I look at you seen that TikTok nurse or the therapist, the
Yeah,
one that got fired.
yeah.
And then it's like when she was talking about black men needing therapy, it makes sense of why she was referring to therapy in that manner. It's like most of y'all niggas need therapy. Y'all don't know how to cultivate relationships. And she was saying it in an aggressive manner. I'm like, you just got fired for being a shitty therapist. Like, and you still telling black men they need therapy. Why would anybody go to therapy now? You know what I'm saying? After seeing you, like I said, we both agreed that you are a representative of other people and you got to watch what you say and do out here.
Well, here's the thing, right? Black men don't go to therapy not because of her kind. Black men
Mm-hmm.
don't go to therapy because it's an internal bias in the system against y'all. The same
Mm-hmm.
way that they talk about black women having the highest mortality rate at the hands of doctors and in maternity and things like that. The only reason why black men don't have the experience is because y'all don't have babies. But
Mm-hmm.
y'all have the same experiences that we have. The same way that it's hard for you to go and find a therapist, it's also hard for me to go find a therapist. It's also
Mm-hmm.
hard for me to go talk to somebody who probably may have an internal bias against you, the same way they can have an internal bias against me, because what y'all are not seeing on the adjacent end is um, people are seeing us. People are seeing what black men have to say about us. People are hiding behind profiles at their own profession. It's other therapists out here, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if I were to go and attempt to take the step to get the help, which I actually currently am in therapy, I have a session with my therapist tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
But if I were to take the step and go get the help, I'm taking a risk the same way you taking a risk. The difference is black women have just always been more trustworthy to utilize those resources because we are women, right? So the threat isn't there for us to be intimidated or to be influenced. On behalf of the men is far different.
Mm-hmm.
Black men have always been intimidating. So people always perceive you a certain type of way. Don't mean that we are not perceived the same type of way. I experienced some of those biases too. It's just not to a greater aspect, right? But
Mm-hmm.
the same thing, because it's on a greater scale, does not mean that it's not happening. But black women tend to show that we have the better experiences than you guys. I will say, if you let that one person deter you from going to get therapy, you're not really doing yourself a service. You just might as well say, I wasn't gonna go get therapy no way.
I agree. I agree. I think sometimes other people give people excuses to do stuff that they know they need to do, but they might be scared to do it. So I just think if you let one, I think I go back to dating. If you let one bad relationship stop you from dating somebody else, you kind of it's kind of miserable. You need some healing and you need some time to yourself because like, everybody gonna be that way. You know what I'm saying? You might find somebody good. I do think it's a needle in a haystack, but yeah, somebody out there good for everybody.
I don't. I don't think it's a needle in a haystack, and I say that because this is my second time going to therapy, every experience in therapy, and I think that we don't give people a chance. When you close minded, you receive a lot of things. You can't have certain experiences until you walk through that door. Therapy has always been a taboo for Black people. And
Mhm.
it's just now within the last 5 years that it's becoming a thing of conversation.
Yeah.
Again,
Oh, hold on. I wasn't talking about needle in a haystack for finding a therapist. I was talking about just relationships.
that makes sense.
Yeah. I was talking about relationships. I don't want to put that out there. No, I do think there's definitely good therapists out there and people that want to help. But I was just talking about finding good people. Like I said, for like, when you have one bad relationship, it shouldn't stop you in correlation to the one bad nurse.
I
I mean,
agree.
yeah. So like I said,
I will honestly say I feel like it's better therapists out here than it is nurses.
think so?
Hell yeah.
I don't know because I've only been to therapy one time, so I don't know much about like therapists and how good they are. But I have seen tons of reports on bad nursing. Like,
Well, the thing is, the reason why I say that is because therapy has always been seen as a privileged form of medical care.
mm-hmm,
It's no different than psychiatrists, or it's a specialized form of medical care. So when you have a specialized form of medical care, right, their patients are not necessarily referred to them. Their patients are coming to them because it's at will,
mm,
and they're having to deal with those patients very carefully, and they're having to actually engage with them on a person to person basis as opposed to a routine structure. A lot of times when you're dealing with nurses, a lot of the things they do is such a routine structure because of the human body having certain things that correlate with each other that the customer service is not there all the time.
mm-hmm.
So that's why I say that. Like, we got loads of therapists and we got loads of nurses. We still always need more because you can never heal a lot of sick people. But I will say that based off of the need basis of how they come to them and based off of the workload, it's definitely a difference in the respectability, because we've seen like now it's like an influx. A lot of people have went into nursing because they're smart enough to do the job. There's no passion behind it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think we're going to end our interview there. I want to tell you, I really appreciate it. I
Did
told you, I
you?
think, yeah, no, I do. This is always a problem that I be scared of when I have interviews and I disagree. I don't want nobody to think that I'm trying to be an asshole. I just want us to have good conversations. And even if you change my mind or you don't, or vice versa, I change your mind or don't. I just want us to be able to respect each other at all times and understand, like, maybe I need to sit on that point a little bit. And that's how I always look at stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like I go back and sit and look back at this interview. Hey, maybe I was wrong here, you know. And like I said, I'm not a person that's above admitting when I was wrong, but I have to come to a conclusion of, you know what I'm saying, where I was wrong, sit on it and digest what was said. So that'd be my issue, like when I have conversations with people, because sometimes we let people talk, and I think I like that about, well, I know that's what I like about you, because even if you don't agree from what I noticed, you're going to have something to say about it. Like, I don't agree with that, you know what I'm saying? So I do like that aspect, because I think in life now we have so many people that are trying to just play a role. They don't want to rock the boat too much. They just want to get in where they fit in, you know. They don't want to have too much say on politics. They don't have too much to say what they believe morally. They don't have too much to say on what they believe religiously. And some of those things, I agree, should be kept private. But if you go for anything, you know, it's hard to trust those type of people for me.
Well, I will say I want to thank you for inviting me. Yeah, like I
Mhm.
said, one of 6 black men who helped make my day to day, right? And here's the thing to remember. A lot of times we are having conversations to change people's mind. Just
Mhm.
because I disagree with you, don't mean I gotta disrespect you. Okay.
Mhm.
So I was very adamant about that because, you know, as a person, like I said, I'm in proximity to women. I see this every single day, and I can tell you that I would employ you, right?
Mhm.
I never try to change people's mind, but I would absolutely employ you to revisit the way that you look at the statement, right? Um,
Mhm.
but I do think that it's necessary for dialogue to happen. It's necessary for us to take these things from a different spectrum and a different viewpoint, because a lot of times, sometimes it feels like coaching, like people want you to agree or have a certain point, and I'm not predictable. You're not going to be able to put words into my mouth. I'm very cautious about what I say, and I'm very intentional about what I say. So, you know, with that being said, again, I do want to thank you for having me. I want to thank you for understanding, right? Because I did have a little technical issues, and I've just had a long day. So thank you so much for that, because a lot of times people are not understanding. They only care about what they want and not necessarily the bigger picture.
Right, right. I agree. Is there anything you want to say before we get out of here? Tell the people out there where to find you, social media handles, stuff like that.
Well, of course, y'all find me on Twitter at underscore Paradise Paris 1, on Facebook at Paradise Paris, on Instagram at Paradise Paris, on TikTok at underscore Paradise Paris, and of course on my YouTube, you just landed in Paris. And if you have any business inquiries, you can hit my email at contact.paradiseparis@gmail.com.
I want to say thank you again. I want to thank y'all for tuning in. I want to tell everybody I love them. I had a great show. I enjoyed Paris tonight. Hopefully this is something that we can do uh a lot more. Hopefully I didn't rub her the wrong way too
Oh, you
bad.
rubbed the wrong way now. I ain't gonna see you lie. I ain't like this statement. I don't like this statement. That ain't the truth. We always had black people who was but you ain't finna put it on black women. You ain't finna do it. You gonna have to get out.
Hold on. Before we get out here, I answer this question now. I promise I ain't even finna push back. So you said there was 3, maybe 4% of women who do want to be white. Why do you think that?
Like I said, there always been coons, and a lot of times you can't know who your enemy is because they're too close to you.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not gonna say 5, even 4. Like I said, 4 was too high. But 5 out of 5, 5 out of 10, that's insane. Like, it ain't 50% of black women walking around trying to be white women. That's an absurd number. Because you're talking about like 3 or 4 as in levels. No, I'm talking like the metric that you gave was like out of 10, which is 100%. Absolutely not. Like, there is no way. Even 40% is too high. We're not walking around trying to be white women. There's a lot of reprogramming that goes into black people. And this is not me making an excuse for black people. This is me acknowledging the issue with black people. Let me be clear on that. I'm not making an excuse for black people when black men behave a certain way or black women behave a certain way. I am acknowledging that there is an inherent issue with black people that needs to be addressed. And one of the things that we absolutely can address is the molestation that has a direct correlation to hypersexuality when it comes to black children. And that starts with expressing in black women and black men by the way that we behave sexually. And that also comes with the way that black women carry themselves as far as the hair. You can't hate yourself if you don't know the hair. You have been brainwashed. And it takes for you to restructure that. Everything else, we just muddy in the waters.
Yeah. You know what? It scared me when I started reading reports of how many boys and girls were like sexually like assaulted and stuff like that.
Black boys
I
start
did.
as early as the age of 8. Black girls start as early as the age of 12. And it's typically by someone around them that their parents have entrusted them with. And if they live in the house primarily with their mother, it's a high possibility the child has been sexually abused by one of her partners.
Yeah, I was having a conversation, and I know we got a lot. We just got a lot to talk about. But I was having a conversation with my neighbors. 4 men, all older than me. The youngest other guy on there was 43. Everybody else was older than 43, and I was the youngest over there. So all of them told me they all had a babysitter story where their babysitter, they were 8 years old. The babysitter was 21, or the babysitter was a friend of the aunt or something like that, and they all like. No, I didn't get molested. No, it was fun. It was I wanted that. I'm like, how do you even know?
But see, that's the thing, right? A lot. This is why I say I'm not making excuses. I'm acknowledging. So what we have here, right, even with the whole thing about Boosie and his son, we use that as a way of saying this is a man's right of passage. He should have access to women this way. This is why we have to be very careful about trying to insinuate that men should be able to have as much sex as possible. Because when we're talking about the idea of sex and access to sex, we're making black men promiscuous, right? And then we're a direct derivative of. So if you my head and you promiscuous and I'm a reflection of you and I'm always around the children, it's a domino effect. It's knocking it down. And all we doing is repeat from the male child, the female child growing up. Because if it's the female child, all she's going to do is go find another male that is just as promiscuous. And just because men are saying, hey, I have a high nature, I have to have sex, or, it's good for me, does not mean you cannot be promiscuous. It does not mean that you cannot be hypersexual, right? All these things have a direct effect on all of us. So the conditioning is like, men think nothing happened to me. Yes, you were a victim. Even the way black men think about domestic violence, a lot of times they laugh. I said this on Twitter. I know a lot of people probably in the chat follow me on Twitter. I said it's so funny how it's so weird how black men have a traumatic response to domestic violence. Y'all will see a woman kicking, screaming, berating, fighting at you, and y'all will literally laugh about it. Now, for the men who have experienced that, it's not all of them, but a lot of times they're laughing about it. And I'm like, you're a victim of domestic violence. And that was one of the things that kind of encouraged me to learn to keep my hands to myself when I couldn't control my emotions and when I was outraged and things like that. So a lot of times the way that we are looking at this, right, when you have a man who is constantly being attacked and beat on and this, that, and the third, we're not looking at what happens when that turns him into a leak passer backer, right? And now we got an
Mhm.
abuser, right?
Yeah.
So that's why I say we have to be very careful about the things that we put on Black people and the way that we talk about Black people, because we're not really talking about the issue. We're addressing our innate disdain. You can have an issue with it, right? But you need to know why it is that way before you proceed to having an issue with something.
Mm. I agree wholeheartedly with what you said. I'm going to say once again, I know I said it already, but we're about to end. I want to tell everybody I love them. It's the New Normal Podcast. Y'all make sure y'all go follow the channel. I'm on all social media platforms, the New Normal Podcast, and on Instagram, I think it's New Normal Pod 20. Somebody stole my name or took my name before I could make it. So it sucks that I can't have it. But on every other social media platform, it's the New Normal Podcast, and Instagram, it's New Normal Pod 20. I want to tell y'all thank y'all for tuning in again. And we have a lot of good shows over here. Paris, I'm gonna have to get you to Birmingham one day. I'm finna get ready to move into a studio. We finna start doing panels.
I've been to Birmingham before. I like Montgomery better though, because Montgomery had some nice people down there. When I was going through Birmingham,
Montgomery, hey, you don't hold on. You
I
don't
was
know
just
this.
driving through Birmingham. I actually experienced Montgomery.
Okay, you don't know this. So Mobile, Montgomery,
Not
Birmingham,
Montgomery. I was in
and
Mobile.
okay, and Huntsville, we don't fuck with each other. And those are like the four major biggest cities of Black people in our state.
That makes sense.
And so when you say you like Montgomery, I'm gonna tell y'all, if you're not from Alabama, Montgomery has the biggest hate out of all of those cities.
No, it was actually Mobile because I was down in Lake.
Okay.
I stayed in Mobile. I had a good experience with Mobile. I actually
Okay, so
liked Mobile,
they
but
got the beach and stuff and all of that, yeah.
yeah. But I did drive through Montgomery. I was there briefly. I got to experience Mobile longer. I ain't never
Okay.
not Montgomery. I was in Birmingham. I drove through Birmingham, but I got to experience Mobile.
All right. It's the New Normal Podcast, and we gone. Peace.